Okay, everyone, you're on record. Okay, so best behavior. We'll just wait another minute or two and then we'll kick off. I hope everyone is doing very well out there. August 2026 already. It's pretty crazy how time flies. And we'll do the same as last time. So I'll just kind of shout out a name and then you can unmute yourself and fire away with any questions. And then we'll just go through. So yeah, have your questions ready, people. And update from me. Obviously, you guys, pretty much everything that I'm doing with this movement, I kind of share on Telegram. The latest I shared with the courts, dealing with the public trustee, trying to assign them as the personal representative on the will, and they kind of refused to want to take that assignment. And so next on my list is to try and go to the Supreme Court and apply for a grant of the letters of administration, where I'd obviously then put a copy of the will in and try and invoke the court to reassign an executor or personal representative for that will for the estate to be liquidated and or trying to get the public trustee to perform. So that's kind of next on my to-do list, alongside learning to trade the financial markets like a professional hedge fund and investment banker trader. So I'm currently going through a mentorship program just to update everyone as to what's going on, what am I up to. It's pretty intense. So I've got another month or two left. Started I think May, end of April, beginning of May. I think it was actually no, end of May. So I've been kind of diving deep into that. So that's been taking up probably 80% of my time. But yeah, I kind of managed to send off that letter to the courts to public trustee to try and get them to perform on the will as executor, but they just didn't want to play ball. So yeah, it's quite interesting. These guys are very stubborn, as you guys are fully aware, right? So yeah, that's the latest and greatest on my side. I hope everyone else is doing very well out there. And we'll get this party started. I guess everyone's joined. Cool, happy days. Right, so we'll go for top left and we'll work my way across my screen as I see people. So Gaza, fire away, mate.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I wanted to jump in early because I've got to jump off at 11.
Yeah, no worries.
I've done the bonds, done the UCC, sent the bond into the Treasury. That was back in April for both me and my other half. And as you've kind of just alluded to there, nobody's playing ball. So yeah, I've tried this with several different avenues. Um, and yeah, nobody's accepting them. The Treasury came back and gave me some half-hearted article, no rebuttal, um, didn't return the bond or anything. So technically, it's still with them. But yeah, just wonder what your thoughts are and possible next steps.
So they actually returned a letter to you.
They have responded to say that they've got it, which I've then sent them a letter
Okay.
saying, "Thank you very much for confirming you've got it."
Uh-huh. And that was it. Did they say they accept or deny the
They
bond?
said that it looks like you're trying to set off bills using the
Mm.
birth certificate,
Oh,
and
okay.
this is not a real thing. I can read it word for word if you like, but yeah, that was it in a
Yeah, I
nutshell.
see. Oh, interesting. Okay, so they probably, they're actively starting to counteract that. Okay, that's interesting. But did they send that letter to you registered post?
No,
No. Okay, so they basically said nothing.
yeah,
So
no
they
priest to pope, no,
they
no signature, no affidavit, no formal rebuttal.
yeah, so yeah, I mean technically in a court of law, you would not be able to prove that that was sent because there was no witness to say that yes, this was recorded, tracked, signed, and delivered. So basically said nothing in that regard. But yeah, I mean, as always, these guys they move the goalposts. I mean, there's always an advantage to be the first mover, but a non-response is non-response. And if they haven't sent anything back registered post to me, I'd still see that as a non-response. And that at least protects your estate. And that's what I've been saying, that that's kind of the best setup that we have in the time being in regards to protecting our sweat equity, and having everything kind of lockstepped and securitized until again we kind of get that cherry on top if anyone can, with the liquidation of the estate. So but yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, yeah, they always have to keep one eye on what people are doing and how that's affecting the system. And yeah, it's just one of those that, yeah, like I said, if you just fall back on the principles of what we learned and what I teach in the course, that if they've not sent anything to you, registered post, you've got your consent, it's still there locked in. So just keep a record of it and then, kind of still perform your duties, as it were, with managing your estate, as if you do still have those bonds in the background protecting what it is you wish to do. None more so than just, yeah, protect your sweat equity with the other claimants that you're making, like foreign tax exempt status and stuff like this.
Okay. All right. So yeah, just basically carry on as if it had been accepted.
I would, mate. Yeah, I would,
Yep.
because like I said, just again, re-emphasizing the principle of if you want to confirm something in the courts of an agreement, yes or no, you need to have a witness. You need to prove that someone received something. An email is better than just what they sent in the post if it's not registered post or tracked or recorded delivery somehow, because at least you've got a timestamp digital record of you receiving the email and sending the email. There's a correspondence, you can print that off and you can see it's timestamped to the system with Outlook or whatever email you use, which is quite
Yeah.
reliable. And so that way there's a record. If there's no record that can be proven, then there's basically nothing. There's no substance back in it, the communications in that regard. So, but I mean, it's up
Right.
to you. I mean, whoever leaves the battlefield first loses by default. I would probably counteract it again and say, could you please send me something registered post that can be proven in the court of law under records? Because I'm keeping records of my court, as you're fully aware, put on notice with registered post, and just ask them if you really are not willing to, um, take on this responsibility. Please return my bonds and also send back the denial via registered post. Then you can have that on your record, and that will pretty much lock him into the corner, unless they
Right.
would have to then send you back the bonds and something registered post, and that's then you putting back your conditional acceptance, or not conditional acceptance, but added terms and conditions based on that correspondence. So it's up to you. I mean, you
Mm.
could either just leave it and kind of play it as if they said nothing, or counteract that, say thank you, but are you able to send something back, registered post, to prove on the record, for the records, that you are not accepting the bonds, and if so, please return the bonds to me. So they kept the
Right.
bonds,
Okay.
mate. They're yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Well, I have. I sent a tacit acquiescence and say,
yeah,
look, well, I gave them seven more days.
mm,
Return it with a affidavit,
yeah,
showing your rebuttal
yeah.
and return it. Haven't mentioned about the registered post bit, so that's interesting. I'll put that into
Okay.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
thanks,
that's
Sam.
what I'll do, mate. Yeah. Any more
Okay.
questions? All good?
I think I'm good for the minute.
Okay,
Thanks.
mate. Yeah, no worries. Perfect. Thank you. Right, next along is Elizabeth in the red jumper. I have. Hi. You are muted, but I can't hear any sound coming through. It's not sure. You might want to double check your microphone is the correct device. That's right. Yeah, if you sort out your microphone and then I'll come back to you. We go to Tammy. Hi, Tammy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I've only really got one question at the moment. I've got my ITIN, got my EIN, got
Hmm.
everything all sitting ready, waiting, got all
Hmm.
the stamps, what have you. Um, I just submitted the UCC one and I didn't actually get anything back from them, like a receipt or an email just acknowledging it. Does that sound right? Wasn't too sure. I went to the website and I would have expected to have received some sort of acknowledgement that it had been, it said on the website that it's been lodged, but I just got nothing in an email or anything. And I thought, oh, I don't know how long to wait. They took the payment.
Okay. Yeah, normally they send an email or you can choose for a paper copy to be sent to an address. I can't remember off the top of my head, but if,
Hmm.
if you can then search, have you been given the actual file number? Have you got access to the file
No,
number? Oh, so you
no,
haven't. So
no.
that, probably the best bet is to search on where you posted, which is probably what, Washington State.
Yep,
Yeah,
I
just
did.
just search your surname or a secure party name search or a debtor
Yeah,
search and see what
yeah.
comes up and try and find whether the listing's there. If
Okay.
not, then just email them. So I think there's an email correspondence, contact them, and then just send them like proof of payment, but that you did
Yeah.
not receive anything
Okay.
back in regards to confirmation. Do
How
you know
long
what
should it
email you
take?
used? They're normally instant. If you got an email on there, they normally send it to you instantly as soon as it's paid and filed. You should
Yeah, I
get an
would,
email
that's what
through.
I would have thought. I did find an email address on there, which I received a reply to that, and they just say that they'll look into it.
Oh, okay.
So that was literally on Friday, so I'll have to wait until open business opens.
Sure.
Um,
It's not very much though, is it, the filing? How much
no,
is the
for
filing?
$48 Australian.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but wait for them to get back to you. And
Okay.
if nothing happens within a week, then maybe
Yeah.
just try and file it again and just double
Okay.
check you got the
Yeah.
email input right and stuff like this. So
Okay. All right.
you check your junk folder and stuff like that as well. See
Yep.
anything? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting on that, and then I'm ready to move to the next step.
Okay, cool. No worries. Exciting.
I know.
Happy days.
Okay. Thanks, Alex.
Whereabouts in Oz are you? You're down in.
Down on the Central Coast, Gosford.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I think it's not far from me, Gold Coast, East Coast.
No, we were just up there actually last
Oh,
week.
were you? Oh, okay.
Mooloolaba.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a cold snap coming in tomorrow, I think. So yeah,
Yeah.
stay warm.
Yeah, I know. All right.
All right,
Thanks.
Tammy. Thanks. Right, so we have next Michael John. How you doing, mate? Do you want to unmute and ask your questions if you have any? Oh, there it is.
Good, mate. Can you hear me?
Yes, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, really well. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, buddy. Not too bad.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I've finished the course. I've set up my estate. I'm all ready to go. I've actually I've just recently put in a lodge for rental payment. So
Mhm.
just waiting to hear back. I've done all the bonds and everything like that. So I just wanted to ask the question about has anyone out there of yourself, have you ever attempted to get rental payment done through the Treasury?
I've not tried that. No. I mean, I could. I thought
Okay.
about it, but I've not yet tried that. No. So
All
yeah,
right.
that'd be interesting, bro, to share what happens with that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the journey I'm on now. I'm hoping that it goes obviously through to litigation, and we'll see
Mm.
what I want to do with it.
I do have there's one gentleman who lives just up the road from me, about 20-minute drive, North Gold Coast, and he's got about four properties that he's not paid the mortgage back on for 4 years now. And it's got to the point where they're really trying to press him in the courts. And he's got a hearing, I think, coming up any date now, maybe next month, the month after. And I kind of got him on to put the bonds in, get the whole estate set up. Like he's very knowledgeable, but kind of outside the bond arena, securing the estate. He's just done it through affidavits and rebutting everything that they say. And he's gone into
Yeah.
court, stuff like this, because he knows how to deal with him on his own 2 feet. So he's now got the bonds in, which I think is going to change the game a little bit. So if he has success there, that'd be pretty major. Obviously, I'll share with you guys. I know it's slightly different to the rental, but it's kind of the same thing in regards to property and dealing with paying off the mortgage, which again is just kind of like a form of rent, basically, that we create the funds in the first place, as you're fully aware. So I'll share that with the group if there is something worth sharing. So yeah, he's in the thick of it. He's got like I think over $1 million worth of claims by the banks through the mortgages of four properties he's managing, and he's not paid a penny for 4 years. And so they're just finally catching up to him and really trying to put him under the cosh. But he's doing a good job so far. And he's now got the bonds in and everything's set up with module 18 that I show on the course. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as a result of that. I'm going to go up to court with him when he gets the date, hopefully, I think in September. So just a bit of moral support and be there in the background kind of thing, see what happens.
Excellent.
So yeah, I'll let you know how it goes, bro. Because if that's like a win there, then you probably, yeah, it might give you a good insight as to what might happen with the rental back and forth and whatnot. So but yeah, try it, man. Give you full confidence. If you've got everything set up, then give it a go.
Man,
Money's yours anyway to begin with. So
exactly right. Thanks, Alex. Thank you.
no worries, dude. Any more questions?
I'm good for now.
Okay, bro. No worries. Thank you.
Thanks, bro.
You're down in Melbourne, right? Are you Melbourne?
Yeah, I'm Melbourne, bro.
Nice, mate. Cold down there? Pretty cold? Colder
Ah,
than up here.
we've got the fire. It's all good, man. Fire
Yeah,
is,
I've seen the fire. Yeah, nice. Nice, mate. Yeah, stay warm, bro.
thanks, brother.
Cheers, brother.
Ciao.
Right, so we have Gavin next in the abyss, just the darkness. Are you there?
Hello
Oh,
there,
yeah.
can you hear me okay?
Hey, mate. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, nice one. Yeah, I was just like looking at Remedy as a whole. I know you can only really sort of comment on what you've done sort of personally, which
Mhm.
is obviously great stuff, primarily with the motor side on the bonds.
Yep.
Now I wanted to ask, I've seen a few different methods of sort of doing the bonds. So there seems to be one method doing it via the UCC
Hmm.
and that sort of method. And then another method where you would actually send it in with your birth certificate accepted for value, and then sending it straight to the Treasury, which there were some people from another group that have said that they've had some results with that. But
Hmm.
it's always difficult when you don't sort of know them personally and you're speaking to them over Telegram or WhatsApp.
Mm.
So yeah, I just wanted to ask you, from what you've seen out there and different methods of sort of doing the bonds, um, you know, have you seen or known of other methods to get success? And the other question as well is just to see if you had heard anything about exclusive equity, because there's people now talking about where they even go into the court, they'll stick to pure equity maxims, and they're there just to settle the account in special appearance,
Hmm.
and they don't get in any sort of argument about cases or anything like that. It's just
Hmm.
purely for the accounting. So they're almost going in as surety. They're going in as the name, but
Hmm.
they're actually touting like 100% success rates when you actually do this method. So yeah, just a general question on remedy, just to see if you had heard about any of these type of processes.
Yeah, I've heard of the latter one. And like I said, there's many different ways to skin a cat in this game. I
Mm,
rely purely on knowing that the court's the paper, and I just don't want to contract with them. And I see them as another bankrupt foreign vessel in dry dock that has no authority over me or the entity they're trying to accost. And that's just the stance I've taken since day
yeah,
one, and it's worked for me when dealing with the courts. But for more complex matters, it probably would need a little bit more backing and probably going into court to reaffirm what you have on paper, like with mortgages or something. So yeah, I mean, as long as someone can provide first-hand proof of the evidence of their claims, burden of proof is always on the claimant, even with people within this movement, then by all means, if they can prove it, mate, and show you that it does work, then there's your proof that you're looking for, right?
yeah, uh,
Until then, it's kind of
sure,
like you have to, if there is no proof, but you kind of see the logic in the theory, then you have to kind of step out and try and prove it yourself. And that's kind of what I did with the knowledge. I was like, okay, I get the theory here. So I just want to go out and try this and see what happens as a result. And obviously, I was surprised with quite a few things, which revealed the nature of the game, which was obviously very fruitful for a few successes I had. And that's what I obviously then established the course on, to show people that, hey, look, this is, first-hand proof. This is what I'm saying. This is what, I can prove actually happened. And so the original question was other methods, kind of similar to the last question. Yeah, there's obviously again other methods and technologies people rely on. You've got the Winston Shrout kind of bond technology, the Bill Turner.
hmm,
You have also other people, when dealing with anything and everything, having different successes or various successes using different technologies. And like I said, it can be quite unique to each individual as well with this journey, because it is a bit of an initiation. And so how they push back at you will depend on almost kind of, I guess, where you're at that level of understanding. There might be other factors as well in regards to where you are, in regards to how that might affect the energetics with, where you're located. And if that is successful for you, how is that going to ripple across and affect other people and the energy with, within the simulation we're in. So there's a lot of
sure,
factors to consider with all this. And yeah, like I said, you've got to be mindful that they do move the goalpost, but more or less the whole structure of the whole system's core operating system remains the same. And so the
hmm,
remedies and technologies we rely on are kind of steadfast and time proof in that regard. It's just that they might get a bit more dishonorable in their dealings and try and dirty tactics and, just try and spit venom at you or try to put you back against the wall to see whether does he truly know or does she truly know what she's talking about, or are they going to fall victim to these kind of first denial programming of, oh, it's just another sovereign. We hear about this all the time, and you're trying to use the birth certificate. We know we have the evidence there, and that's just
yep,
designed purely to, I guess, make people doubt themselves on this journey, like very early on. So yeah,
sure,
knowledge is power in that regard. So yeah, mate, there's loads, but in regards to the successes, like I could only share what I've seen firsthand.
sure,
I've obviously heard a lot um, in regards to other people saying this and saying that, but I've not seen the first-hand proof, like with the 1099 OIDs, recruitment processes. Again, liquidating the estate. I've got the theory, I get it, I understand the concept, but I haven't seen first-hand proof yet. But this is what I'm trying to do to see whether I can get that first-hand proof and put myself out there. So I've still got other options to exhaust, which is an ongoing thing. But as you know, with these dealing with these guys, it can take a lot of time and energy. So you've got to pick and choose your battles wisely, especially if you've got other things going on in your life.
Sure.
So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean that's what I
Questions?
love about your stuff, and the fact you're not sort of scared or shy to share anything with a group if you have
Mm,
had success. The last quick one is
yeah.
trust structures.
Hmm.
So I see a lot of primarily the American groups, they'll go in along the line of different trust structures. They'll have like a revocable trust,
Hmm.
which is their public facing trust for banking,
Hmm.
like as a foreign grantor trust,
Hmm.
and then the irrevocable trust as well for protection of the assets, but they'll sort of structure it. And I think sometimes it's referred to as like the Rockefeller structure.
Hmm.
And that's something I'm trialing at the moment myself. So I'll be feeding that back to the group. But again, it's just, I think for yourself, you found a sweet spot with your security agreement and how you deal in commerce and how you're doing business. But what's your thoughts on trust structures for Remedy?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a big subject, right? There's different types of trusts. You've got to remember, is it Gwen Wyckoff's common law private trusts? Again, it's a whole
Hmm.
different beast. And this is what the the very elite kind of bloodline families use, that she was a trustee of. That revealed a lot in her two books that she wrote with her husband, under the pen name Charles Arthur, I think it was, Wills, Estates and Trusts, Secrets of Wills, Estates and Trust. So, regards to different horses, different courses in the public realm, because there'd be obviously a lot of people who have businesses that are registered with the state. And so they'll have LLCs, and this is where trusts become beneficial. And this is where you see, I think, under the Sovereign Redemption Manual that I went through, one of them, they kind of show the common three pillars structure of how these guys work in regards to you've got the public interface, which is your corporation that's registered with the state. You then have that held within a private trust. It could be any number of different trusts. Some trusts would have more advantages over others based on what kind of business you're using to recruit or take on tokens of the matrix, or the monopoly board game here, the fiat currency. And then from there,
Hmm.
they have a faith-based organization set up because the private trust is able to donate 100% of its profits to a faith-based organization, whereas a public LLC or limited company alone can't transfer 100% of its profits over to a faith-based organization, but it can if it's under ownership of a trust. The trust then takes on the profits of that corporation, is then able to send 100% of it to a tax-exempt faith-based organization, which will either be 501(c)(3) or 508(c)(1)(a), I think it was.
Hmm.
So yeah, mate, it honestly just depends. Obviously, my situation is unique in that I've only got a URL kind of web address. I've not registered that with the state. I've kept the registration of all that held as an asset, like an intellectual property, within my Schedule A of my security agreement. And so I have everything controlled that comes through so-called the public interface of my website, which is all digital products, as well as my capital gains with my trading accounts coming through there, that obviously has the lien with the PPSR and the UCC1, all backed by the security agreement and backed by the bonds, indemnity and set off bonds, and also my foreign tax exempt status. And like I said, I've had absolutely no pushback, nothing from the system in regards to replies to any of that when demanding my status and showing them, the forms I have to back my assertions. And so it's just a matter of me continuing to behave with what's on paper, substance
Cool.
over form, behavior match my assertions. So for me, I mean, if I had an idea to come up with a business where I had to deal with more interactions, employing people, maybe having to take out insurance, get a license, then that would be probably where I'll look at. Still, you got to treat that business as another entity like our straw man. I'd still do the same process I did with the straw man to indemnify it, have a set-off bond against it, put a security claim against it with a security agreement, and then obviously perfect that on PPSR UCC1. But also maybe think about how that would interact with the system and how they would interact with that, given that you have actively registered that with the state. And so they now have title and rights over that entity. So how that can
Hmm.
affect it in regards to, what is it, amend the record, or maybe kind of have that insurance behind it. in order to put it into that capsule, which is quite protective when it's backed by the bonds and the security agreement, that might give you a little bit more freedom in regards to then maybe issuing foreign tax exempt status against it. But if you can,
Uh-huh.
if you're in a position where maybe you can set up your own business through the postal road mechanics, maybe try looking at that, and then you can issue your own
Cool.
licenses under your own, hand and say what's the definition of license in their legal dictionaries? Permission to do
Yeah,
that which is otherwise illegal, right? So why do we have to rely on them all the time? We have the power and knowledge to grant ourselves the authority and license to do whatever it is we please, as long as we don't do any harm to any others, and notify them of what we're doing and give them an opportunity to rebut. If they don't, you've got your consent. So that's how you can play it. So there's different ways. So yeah, you could go down the
sure.
conventional route, or you can think about maybe can I get away with maybe trying to set this business up privately under my own hand and seal using the post road mechanics, or you can do both. You can set it up publicly and then have um, the lien against it, the security agreement, the bonds, offer it a little bit more protection, maybe try and then get foreign tax exempt status on the thing, because it's no
Hmm.
different to your straw man. That's what we do to the straw man. You could do that to any corporate entity, but the power lies in obviously self-registration, as we know. So whether you can have like a
Sure.
hybrid, possibly, it's kind of what we do with the straw man. It's a hybrid. It's been registered with the state, but then we're kind of with what we're doing, we're taking back, so we have that superior claim. And then obviously through these contracts and knowing what we know, they can't really rebut that because they know what they're doing is a bit fraudulent and deceitful. So yeah, it's just kind of like meditating on it and having a little play around and thinking there's different strategies you can take. Which ones are going to be best for you? So you kind of do, I guess, a cost benefit analysis
Yeah.
based on your
Yeah.
situation.
Last very quick one, then I'll yield. I just wanted to quickly ask, with regards to UCC, you've got PPSR, is it, in Oz?
Yes.
Um, in England, um, my thinking is we can do, or we can post public sort of service agreements, potentially via the sort of company's house structure, where you can actually put charges on. I think it's MRO ones, is it? So would that be better for us to use in England than the UCC? Or if we did a UCC one, which we are able to do via Washington, which you've pointed out when you did that in the beginning, um, is it then beneficial potentially to take that UCC one and then add that charge? I don't know if you do it perhaps via a limited company, via an MRO one. So I'm just thinking if you're ever introducing these things into courts, then they might be more likely to accept it. Where I've just found with the courts in England, when it comes to UCC ones, that it's different jurisdiction, they're not interested.
You got to just pull up Unidroit and then print off the member states that are part of Unidroit who holds the copyright for UCC, and then
Yeah, I completely
explain,
agree. I've seen that. Is
ask them to
is that
explain
you? Yeah,
why
good
they're
good
paying a
question.
fee every year and how much are they paying to access the copyright of the UCC, and what are you using here in this court? What are your statutory
Yeah.
securities acts and regulations based off of? Is it not based off of the UCC?
You know that is it unicitral or satral that
Yeah,
looks like it comes part and parcel with Unidroit?
that's right. Yeah, they're kind of one and the same. Yeah,
Yeah,
part of the International Institute of Private Law Studies, which are based
got
in
you.
the Vatican.
So,
One Unidroit's based near the Vatican, and then I think Unicentral is part of the United Nations International Bills of Exchange, International Law Studies. But they're all kind of,
mhm,
yeah, they all sing off the same hymn sheet, as you know. But again, with that, UCC get it done. New York is probably arguably more powerful in regards to an international recognition, but it's just they don't do an online filing. You have to do it via letters, which is possible. It just takes a little bit longer with the forms that you're going to send out. So New York maybe is probably superior compared to Washington State, but the whole idea of perfecting a security agreement and a peace and securities law is just to notify other creditors of your claim against a debtor. That's all it is. And so you
mhm,
can use a newspaper to do that. Obviously, there's requirements under certain jurisdictions and lands in regards to, okay, we've got the UCC here, so that's a platform you guys can use to notify other creditors of your claim against this debtor. Here in Australia, they have the PPSR. But all of this is international law anyway. Like I said, it all goes back to
mhm.
Unidroit. And so you can kind of prove that if the court's kicking up a fuss or anyone else, like the lawyers are kicking up a fuss, and just ask these tricky questions to them. Like, well, then why are you a member state to Unidroit? Do they not have like, you know what I mean? Kind of sentence it to negate it, get them to negate it, like the null
Yeah.
hypothesis. So yeah, I mean, you could go down that company's house road and routes. These are opportunities for you guys to try these things out, you know, off the back of the knowledge, and kind of put yourself out there and just, yeah, see. And if it makes sense logically, then follow it along and yeah, go ahead and give it a go for sure. But just
Cool,
all it
cool.
is a public
Thanks for your time.
public advertisement. That's all you need to perfect a security agreement. It's somewhere public to announce to other creditors that you have a security agreement in place.
Mhm.
That's the most important thing.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, I've even seen people like Mark Kishon Christopher. He did like public announcements on his YouTube channel. That's a public broadcasting station.
Sure.
Technically, that can be
Makes
used to
sense.
announce to them what it is you're up to, and you can just put like a QR code link on papers that you send to them and get them to say, "Watch this," you know. This has all my papers. You can show them. Okay, so we have Shaq with his hand up. Hello, Shaq. Can you hear me, mate?
Right. Hi, you all right?
Yeah, all good. How are you?
Um, Not so good.
Oh
I'm
no.
the one who's, oh no, facing the bankruptcy
Oh,
because
okay.
they didn't accept the bond.
Uh-huh.
They've just ignored it really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I've got a bankruptcy hearing on Monday, on the
Mm-hmm.
17th.
Okay.
I don't I don't really know how to present myself in the court, to be honest. How to make them accept the bond, if that makes
What's
sense.
Yeah. What's the bankruptcy for? A business or
No, it was a car. Well, it was a car finance. The car was taken without consent. Then it was taken from the compound by a third party. So there's loads of people that are liable on the way, but obviously ultimately the outstanding finance was still put on me.
hmm
I couldn't afford to pay it.
Okay.
And I lost the car. I still haven't got the car. And the police are saying that's a civil matter. So
Okay.
um
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember, yeah, your correspondence on Telegram back and forth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's one of those, for me, if they were still not willing to play ball, I
yeah,
would just, again, given my whole setup and using digital mailbox addresses, I would just, again, treat the court as the paper, not recognize their authority, not willing to contract, and just get them to bugger off. That's just me, knowing that the court is the paper. Because problem is, when you step into the court, it is a lot trickier because you
yeah,
have to be dynamic on your feet. And if you aren't ready for, you know, knowing and rehearsing all the different scenarios and you know how they can maybe trick you into contract and act as surety to take on the so-called charge, right? Even if there is no crime, you're gonna have a tricky time. And so you're probably best. Well, it's one of the maxims that the appearance of the body corrects the error in the name. So even when you rock up, that's the assumption they take that, oh, the body's here, so they assume and presume straight off the bat that you're going to step up as surety for the entity they're trying to accost, right? Which is your straw man or woman. And
mm,
so in order to get yourself out of that, again, you have to then fold the correct papers, which is, you know, for the record, on the record, correcting your status and standing. And then every
mm-hmm,
step of the way, verbalize. First off, stating again, like everything we do on paper, you just kind of then have to verbalize, state the language you're speaking, your status, your standing, who you are, what you're here for in regards to representative capacity to the entity in question. And you put on the record for the record all these claims that is basically already established on your paper. And so then you know, ask questions in court as well. And you go after not really the judge, but the prosecutor, ask them questions
mm,
to validate the crime and you know the debt, evidence of loss, and all this. And then there's
yeah,
just a tennis game back and forth with all these boxes, and that's why I just don't end up going in the courts, you know, unless I'm like literally physically arrested and I have to appear. I just deal with them on papers. I know the court is the paper. And so I just, again, it's a lot of them rely on fear tactics, like I said, sowing seeds of doubt, steamrolling as well. I mean, like I said,
yeah,
there's probably since 2020, a lot more people have come into this knowledge and they're kind of sweating palms a little bit in regards to knowing that a lot of people are kind of waking up and working this stuff out. And so the only thing they can rely on in that sense is just more iron fist, kind of trying to really steamroll people and just not, so that's the system, right? It's just heartless and they just don't care. But They know that if
Mm.
someone knows what's going on, they will honor that. So my recommendation for you, if you're
Mm.
not confident in regards to playing the game in court on your own 2 feet,
Yeah.
then I guess the only option for you is having to accept some form of payment schedule or agreement, and then
Hmm.
off the back of that, again, try and that kind of, I guess, give you more time, combat these guys on paper in regards to whoever you're dealing with, who's bought the debt that you owe that debt to, and then go through that whole process of like conditionally accept and whatnot, this, that, and the other, you know. So for
Yeah.
me, I just wouldn't even turn up. I would have just dealt with them on paper. And because if they haven't provided me any evidence of the loss with all the back and forths, all tracked and recorded, I'll get them to, I'll just be like any other correspondence that's otherwise not give me the evidence is just chucked in the bin. And if this court then has this case, I don't have a contract with you. I do not recognize your authority, do not give you permission to, make this, that, and the other assumption about me or the entity you're trying to accost. Here's all the evidence of the back and forth, sent registered post for the record on the record. I'm keeping, a record as well. And then just leave it at that. Unless you guys can then send me evidence of what I've been requesting since day one of this back and forth with the so-called alleged claimant with
Yeah.
the debt or the charge they're bringing, then there is no case here, and I do not give you permission. Who are you to judge me? There is no case, there is no crime. They couldn't even prove where the money came from, like your signature and all this. You got the whole list right in your paper records. That's
Hmm.
just what I would do. You can only really do what you know and what you're confident in doing. So there's options there for
Hmm.
you, but you just have to, yeah, sit with yourself and just kind of think what would be the best option, what would give me more time, or what do you feel like in your situation with your current knowledge is going to be the best plan of attack. Because if you got the car, all your bank accounts with money held in there on the
Mm.
security agreement, liens perfected, you've got your whole estate set up with the bonds, they can't touch that. They can't take any money from you without your consent unless you trip up. I guess that's probably what they're trying to do, get you into court to see and hoping that you will trip up. People trip up.
Oh,
Winston
so I
Shrout
present
tripped
the
up.
security agreement as a reason for them not to be able to touch my bank accounts.
Yeah, of
Is that
course.
what
That's
you?
that's
Yeah.
the whole that's the whole idea of the technology that we're teaching on the course is you
Yeah, I just feel like they dishonor it all. They just
no,
ignore it.
no, they
Yeah,
don't. They don't. They
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 don't.
can't they can't touch you or your bank accounts or anything that you got on your security agreement perfected. They can't do that. Backed by the bonds, they can't go after you to do that without a doubt. They can't seize it. No, no way. Like I said, if,
Perfect.
if you're, because I've been in situations where they threatened to do that, they just haven't done it. I've spoken to people who also been in similar situations, they just can't. They can't touch it. And I believe it. So I've seen it, living proof. Bill Turner, the same.
Yeah,
He knows if you
yeah.
got the lien and the security agreement, they can't
Mm.
touch it. It stops them double dipping into your estate on the private side of the ledger. All they're trying to do is just because they probably know that maybe you are a bit doubtful and based on
Yeah,
the
vulnerable.
correspondences. I've not seen your papers, based on your
Mm.
correspondences, they may be assuming and thinking that because it is quite a large amount, I think maybe if we get into court, we might be able to get something out of this. So that's all it is. At the end of the day, they're just trying to double dip and get commission. They're all commissioned officers, right? The lawyers too.
Yeah,
They're all paid agents to the crown. So they're going to look at trying to dip into your private trust whilst you're there in
yeah,
court. If you go off the route of what's backing your standing and status on the papers that you have set up. So I can't really offer any other advice apart from that, because it all comes from the knowledge. You can only
yeah,
really do what you know, and don't step outside of that. But with every battle you go into this, kind of you have to draw out the worst case scenario and the best case scenario and everything in between, and just think in the stand and never forget what this system is. So when you're kind of in that back against the wall, kind of like, oh my God, this is coming around the corner, and what is it? Break it all down. It's all fiction. Courts of foreign vessels in dry dock. You don't have a contract with them unless you've kind of with the back and forths given
joined
that
it. Yeah,
consent. Yeah, like I think the message I just sent before the call with an individual, she
yeah,
filled out not guilty. If you do that, you're basically
yeah,
paying, you're literally dragged into their game. You're consenting. Me, I
yeah.
got that form. I remember just picking apart, doing the forensics on it. And I was like, they didn't even give me an option to declare who I am, what I am, and what I want to plea. in regards to innocence. And so I just drew the
Yeah.
box in there, ticked it, and put innocent. This is like literally how it is. We people really must like break this conditioning of all this stuff that only exists on paper, mere ink on paper. Like Bill Turner says, the worst that can happen from all this stuff is you get a paper cut. All the rest of it is relied on purely this tripping up and consenting and giving our consent away and contracting then into their jurisdiction where they drag us underwater and we're locked in as surety, crucified on the cross for this bastard strawman entity, and we're the one that has to carry the cross, the burden of the debt, this perpetual debt that we create in the first place. So it's like it's all designed for just population control, as most people here know and worked out. And
Yeah.
so it's just one of those. You have to kind of, I guess, have a little meeting with yourself, test your resolve, what you're aligned with. You got an opportunity there to go into court and say, look, okay, yes, I agree to set up some kind of payment schedule and work with the claimant here to settle the accounts. Or you could go in kind of guns blazing, reissuing or reasserting your stance, or you can just rely on your paperwork again and just send in a notice with your standing, knowing that the court is the paper, like I mentioned before, and copying all of the back and forths, and just again reiterate, not willing to contract with you, don't recognize your authority, do not give you permission, and just rely on that and just see what happens. So you have to just assess and do what you feel confident. And even if, like I said, if you accept some kind of agreement in the court, it's not the end of the world. You can then go back, and if you've got your estate set up, like I said, and you're smart with digital mailbox addresses and revenuing your straw man compared to where you're staying and have everything go through there, you can then still have the car or whatever it is. I know you haven't got it, but just use an example, change the plates in the car, put a private registered plate on there. You're anonymous. You're just like off the radar. They can't touch you. They don't know where you are, what you're doing, unless you let them know and you trip up when these things happen. So
Yeah. Thank you. That's helpful.
yeah, no, welcome. Watch I know under resources on my website, go under courts. Again, just watch those 2 videos by Bill Turner. Pretty much sums it up. It's so powerful. Bill Turner is the GOAT, I believe, of this whole movement. He knows everything inside out. He's been to court and he reveals all his stories of the court. But ultimately, like he said, the court is the paper. And he knows, like he doesn't have to go to court because he knows the court is the paper. And so rewatch module 6 or 7. I think I shared my dealings with the court, where I give that example of how I, did the forensics on the forms and stuff and just rebutted it. Like another,
I had to look at that, but on the petition, there's no boxes or anything. It's
we
it
just
doesn't
write up
say you.
well, whatever they're presenting, you could just edit and amend and put in to correct your standing.
Yeah.
If they're not giving you the option of who you are and what you're defining yourself to be, first and foremost, what language you're speaking,
Yeah.
you're falling right under the trap, under their assumptions, presumptions. And like I said, they don't even define their language. You could go in there and just ask, what language are you prosecuting me in? And they, you know what I mean? What language, what dictionary are you using to, the language you're speaking to, so-called bring forth this charge? Do not disable me under language fraud and perjury. I want to be on a level playing field here. In order, so I know what language you guys are speaking to me. So I'm speaking in plain simple English, etc., etc. And you can kind of listen to my court case when I try to bring a charge against the Crown. In the beginning, I had to state, my standing and status. And first thing I did was state, for the record, on the record, the language I'm speaking, plain simple English. Plain simple English.
Brilliant.
So
thank you.
Yeah, I recommend watching Bill Turner's videos and have a look at obviously module 7. Just think about the language with how I dealt with the courts and see whether you just want to deal with them on paper, knowing the court's the paper, get them to bugger off that way intelligently and honorably, or go in, accept the charge, and then kind of like think about maybe renegotiating. Once you kind of set up some kind of payment agreement, you can then go back to maybe see whether you can get the conditional acceptance again and say, I want to validate this, or go in and try and fight if you've got the confidence in regards to just reiterating what you have already backed on paper with your estate.
Yeah.
In the end, all 3 ways is going to obviously provide a remedy. The best is going to be obviously you not having to agree to a payment reschedule. But I've seen people, like I said, who've gone in there in person and had great results. Also, not even gone in there and just dispelled it with paperwork. Bill Turner, myself included, a few others as well that I've seen back and forth with the court. And they kind of did a similar thing to what I did.
Rebutted it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
register post. Yeah, that's all the court is. They're just foreign vessel on dry dock looking to try and pin you as surety, or the claimant's bringing forth the charge, paying the courts to bring you in to try and pin you as surety for the charge. That hasn't been proven. And you can prove that. So you can go into court and say that, and you can
Mm.
get the judge to come to your aid and just state the facts for the record on the record, plain simple English, and then really put pressure on the claimant. So yeah, there's so many ways you can play it, but yeah, don't bite off more than you can chew, and make sure you're prepared, because the courtroom can be quite intimidating, but only to
Mm.
those who haven't really done that homework. But it could be a good
Well,
initiation for you.
it's going to be a telephone hearing, so I reckon they've already made the decision.
Okay, well again, with that, you see Don Killam in his
Mm.
court case over the Zoom
Yeah,
and how he
yeah.
handled that. That was a success.
Didn't he set up as a limited company? Was that what he did?
Yeah, he showed that he on behalf of the estate, which
Yeah.
is a LLC registered in wherever, and then he just went down that path, and then all of a sudden, the judge and the registrar lost the record. Oh, where did it go? And you see them, they're like that. Where do you have it? No, I don't think. Oh, you're in the. I think you're in the wrong. Oh, we'll have to get back to you. Oh, okay. So that's how they play it. They know.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
know. The judge will know. Like the judge will come to your aid, as Bill Turner says, and Don Killam showed. And also, if you send in the right paperwork, they just know that we can't get into play surety here, so we're just gonna have to bin it off.
perfect.
So yeah, go away and meditate on those things, and just see,
Yeah.
given your situation, just remind yourself, refresh yourself of what the system is, what they're doing, and what you already have established, and you know, just stand on those documents, stand on what you know in regards to what you've already dealt, and try to prove that they're acting fraudulent. They're trying to push forward a fraudulent charge that they can't prove. There's no evidence for, and then just think what you feel is best for you to do going forth. That's going to be the least stressful, but asserting the most authority based on what you know, because you've been at this for quite a while, so you don't want to get to
Mm.
this stage and give up, and that's what they're hoping. So keep pushing forward and be confident in yourself. Now I'm confident in you because I've seen your correspondences, and I know what's going on, and so I think you just maybe need a bit of encouragement. But
Yeah, I
just
just think it's my first battle, isn't it, in that sense? And
yeah,
once you win one, then you gain the confidence.
yeah, it's all
So
initiation. Every
yeah,
every step of the way it's initiation. I've been through it. Trust me,
yeah,
it'll
yeah,
serve you well. There's only ever lessons at the end of the day. So if you have that
yeah,
positive mindset, that's how you should
yeah,
see these things. All of these things, they're all just lessons, and we can
yeah,
grow from.
exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll let you know of the outcome.
Yeah, keep me
Thank you so
updated for
much for the
sure on
advice. I
Telegram.
will.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
worries. All the best.
Oh,
Yeah, keep
thank
me
you.
updated. No problems. Any more
Thank you.
questions, just let me know as well on Telegram.
All right. Thank you.
No problems.
Take care.
No problems. Right, we've got Perry. Did I pronounce that right? Hello, mate.
Hi, Alex.
Hiya. How you doing, mate?
Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
It's good. So I had a question, which is to do with driving license and all that stuff.
hmm
But I just wanted to share a couple of things based on your conversation with Shaq just now. So before I found the course, I'd started to dabble in kind of essentially challenging the system. So I was using some bills of exchange stuff. So it's a bank draft, which I'd used to pay for water and energy. And so, of course, then the shit hits the fan. So with water, I was paying them with a draft and they kept it. So every quarter, the bill came, I paid it, and they kept it. And they didn't say anything, they didn't send it back. However, about 2 months, 2 cycles in, so 6 months, they started challenging me that, I owed money and I'd not paid. And they registered a credit default on my record. So I was replying to all the letters they were sending me, and eventually I basically said to them that um, the fact that they hadn't returned the payments, settlements, meant that they've accepted it. And then I also demanded that they remove the credit default on my account within 30 days, which they did. And then So I think we carried on for a whole year where they've been accepting the drafts, so four drafts. And then they passed it on to a debt collector. And I basically just behaved as if they'd accepted the draft. So I wrote to the debt collector, sending them copies of each draft and the letters that I sent to the water company demanding answers, which they didn't respond to. So essentially, the debt collector just went away. And then, so this happened twice. I just sent the same document edited. A third time, so earlier this year, they sent a bill. I paid with the same drafts. And then they wrote me saying, oh, we didn't accept the drafts. And then I said, okay, no problem. Can you just give me the statute? So I was playing within the system. The exact statute and the clause that gives them the permission or that enables them to refuse the draft. And they just wrote back with some waffle. And then they passed it on to a third debt collector. And again, I just repeated the same and they've gone away. So I'm sharing this obviously for the lady there, the fact that they will test you and they do test us. So essentially that one ended. And then again, earlier on in the process, finding this program has helped me a lot. I said I was paying energy as well. Because I was quite new at the time, when they sent a debt collector, that shocked me a lot. The debt collector showed up at my door. And then I was really angry. So I started a small claims because I'd set up a number of things to establish that A, there was no contract. And then they, after a couple of weeks of telling me there's no contract, they then sent me an email saying, oh, it's actually a deemed contract. And then I asked for the deemed contract, which they didn't provide a copy of. And then finally, in the court case, their lawyer basically said it was an express contract. So then on paper, I'd established and I put them on estoppel. And then this actually went to court. And as we went through the process, they essentially abandoned the case because of this A, estoppel, and B, just the fact that because they were challenging the drafts, but they did a weak challenge. So I'm sharing all of this because we talk about the bills of exchange often, and when they receive them, they say they didn't accept them. The fact that this actually went into a courtroom and the judge was very reluctant to clearly write out that I'd made payment by bills of exchange. She relied on the estoppel, and she relied on all the facts that I laid out in the case about the fact that they told me there was no contract. And then they tried to assert that there was a deemed contract and finally that there was an express contract. So it literally, and in a way, I was scared through the process. It was very nerve-wracking. But the fact that I was able to take it through the process and they didn't show up to court. So again, sharing that we need to just keep pushing back. Because ultimately, if someone's committing fraud, you keep putting the evidence in their face when it comes to a court case, I was surprised that they actually walked away.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought I'll share that. But anyway, yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. If not, I'll go to my question.
No, that's brilliant, mate. Yeah, just again, first-hand proof for other people to show that, yeah, if you keep pushing and pressing and, don't rest on your laurels, keep, with what you know and what we've done with the papers you've got set up, keep pushing. And these opportunities may seem like challenges on the surface, but could be a great opportunity and platform for you to get that success and get over the line and get more experience off the back of that. And then have a story to share with others to show that this does work like you have. So yeah, cheers for sharing that, mate. That's good.
No worries. So in the Lodio title work, I've got, this is they reply with a stock, just a standard template response. But there is a post on the group from Kirsty. I don't know if you managed to read that.
No, no.
So apparently, I don't think she's online. So if I quickly summarize it, because it ties into what I'm trying to do.
Sure.
So she's, it looks like back in 2024, she'd done all the paperwork for a radio title. and apparently she got stopped for lack
Oh, this
of
is,
insurance.
yeah, sorry, this is one I just shared a response to under this Zoom group, right? Yeah,
Yes.
sorry, I have read it. Yeah, and I did respond to that in an
Okay.
answer in text beneath. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, do you want to carry on? Just yeah, briefly again highlight for everyone else the situation and then yeah, I can
Oh,
answer.
her situation or mine?
I guess well, if you want to explain hers, then see how it overlays with
Yeah.
yours. It can all benefit
Yeah.
all of us
Okay.
anyway,
So
so that's fine. Yeah.
hers is that. So then, because there's been a broader conversation about this as well in the group. So she got stopped for lack of third-party insurance. They made her on the roadside take out third-party insurance, which she did, but then they also took her to court, and is a court case that's coming up. So I was reading all of that, and because I got this letter in July, which is where they're saying that some regulation says that you must have a driver's license and that your car must be taxed. So reading between the lines, I submitted a whole lot of documents and text, and they're basically focusing purely on the driver's license and the tax. They've not said anything about whether the allodial title itself is valid or not valid. So as you always say, you do what works for you in the moment. And I was thinking, okay, fine. So if today the problem we're having is about insurance, really, is about whether you have third party insurance. And actually, so from in my reasoning, if God forbid one got involved in an accident and did serious harm to somebody else, and the system failed to stand up and do their part, we could find ourselves in serious trouble unless you know what you're doing, because there are people in the group who obviously are living, they've submitted all the documents and they're living free. And the people, someone like me, I'm still very new in this process. And I just thought, okay, so for me, the most important thing that I want to achieve right now is two things: get the tax exempt status and use my private number plate on the car. Now, and my reasoning at the moment is that if I'm tax exempt, do I mind paying 500, 600 quid tax and sorry, insurance and paying the tax for now until I get to a place where I have a lot more knowledge and more confidence to challenge the system? Am I creating any kind of weakness in the system? Should I go down that route where I say they didn't rebut my Lodio title ownership of the car now, but they're saying driver's license? Yes, I do have a driver's license and insurance. Am I leaving? Am I by? I've not done it. I'm just thinking out, meditating on. Am I leaving any weakness in the system by, because if I say, okay, fine, I'll pay the tax and I'll pay the insurance, I'm essentially joindering.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, with the whole setup with the allodial title for the car, the reason why we then self-register it with getting the private plates is that we remove it from the usury, which is tax of the system, right? Whoever holds legal title can charge rent for the use of the thing that we think we possess, which we do, but we don't own it. And for that rent, it's otherwise just disguised as tax, right? And so the whole process of loaded titles, we're taking that legal title claim to the thing we possess. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Other 10th is title. We can then dictate the rights of use under a salvage claim through the post-road mechanics under silent acquiescence submission, the car. That removes it from the obligation of being taxed because we're not renting it, we now own it. So that's the tax sorted out. With the insurance, of course, everything we do here, there's always a risk, right? I can prove what I've proven and what I'm doing. Whether that's going to translate to work for someone else, you have to take that risk. Did they move the goalposts? Yes. Would they kind of maybe try and turn the screw a bit more on certain individuals compared to others? Yes. But this is all a test for every single one of us to prove whether we know what we're doing or not. Are we a copy and pasting our way to this process, or do we actually know, stand on our own 2 feet, how to deal with this system on paper and in person? And so even with that woman who got Kirsty, who got stopped, I don't know how she acted when she got stopped and corresponded with the police officer. I don't know. I've not seen her paperwork. I don't know what she showed him. I don't know the details compared to how I handled that situation. Because again, in theory, it made sense to me. Right, if I get this set up, and I got the idea from Mary Elizabeth Croft from Canada for the insurance because she said she did it in the books. I was like, okay, yeah, I get this set up. I understand that what's going on with the money. Let's try this out. So I tried it out, and it took 2 months of me driving around before I got pulled over with the ANPR, right? And then, but I had all the paperwork there, and obviously I share my correspondence. Kirsty, if she shared her correspondence, showed us the paperwork, would we have found a discrepancy there? Maybe. I don't know. That's still yet to be determined. So this is the thing with, other people kind of following along and saying that I've done this, I've done that. But have they really? We need to cross-examine that first to go back to the cause and see, did you have everything set up properly? How did you correspond to them when they did stop you? And it could just be a matter of, okay, she did have everything set up properly, but they just really pressed the issue, and we're just like having enough of this kind of sovereignty movement shit, and just like we can't have any more successes from this, and we got to stamp down, and then could be orders from head office down the chain, really got to turn the screw. And so yeah, it comes to then assessing, but you don't know until you try. You can see the first-hand proof from me and other people, but it might be a slight different initiation for you when you go through it yourself. But 99.9% of the times, if you do it correctly, follow the procedure, you shouldn't have any issues. As long as you, again, also interact in person responsibly and intelligently and honorably with what your papers are backing you. But at the end of the day, mate, yeah, I mean, I'm taking the risk at the moment, but I know based on the paperwork I got set up I got the private plate here on my car in the Gold Coast. I'm the only one probably around the area that's actually doing this. It's ridiculous, but I've not had any issues because I've sent in my paperwork. I've not had any rebuttal. I've gone past numerous ANPR police cars, systems with the traffic lights they got set up on the highways here. Nothing, absolutely nothing. If I get in an accident and I cause harm to someone else, I mean, part of the responsibility of insurance is me being mindful on the road and, taking that concept of prevention is better than cure, right? But you never know, some other knucklehead could cause an issue for you. That I'm willing to take on the risk, not knowing what will happen when I do get in an accident, whether they will honor the bonds or not. But knowing what I know with what I've proven and seen firsthand, I know that they will have to, and that I am insured because I can prove it. Because I've, again, with not only my car surety case, but just with the silent acquiescent admission and my understanding of the system, and me being an honorable guy, not a criminal, using this in an honorable way, not a criminal way, they're gonna push that over the line. I'll get the remedy, and things will be set off from their insurance firm and my so-called insurance firm, which is technically the Treasury. Even though if you look at, I think I actually sent a bond to Alliance, which is a private insurance firm here in Australia also. So I've got two bonds insuring me for so-called accidents, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there's still intelligence to still have it insured as part of the public system, but you won't be able to do that with a private number plate. That's the whole point. Because they'll be like, hang on, we can't find your registered number plate on the system. That's how they look up all the car registries and car insurance against that registry. That's why I had a difficult time with obviously proving that I had car insurance with my private bond when I was in the police office, and they were like, "What's the company that you're insured with again?" No, no, it's not a company. It's held with the Department of Transport, Grant Shapps. The bonds, you got the bond in front. Oh, they just had no clue, So it works the opposite way around. If you want to do the local title, private conveyance, put the private register on your vessel, on the vehicle, you're going to have to privately insure it as well. Because I think you have a tough time phoning up a public insurance company insuring a private number plate that you have a local title to that's not even on the public registry. So you know what I mean? You have to assess these situations. But of course, I mean, at the end of the day, if you got no claims and you still want to stay a part of the system and have it registered in the public, because in the back of your mind you feel like, well, it's too much risk because if I do get in an accident, they're going to have to push forward the bonds. It's going to be a lot of back and forth and explaining to do. That's the risk I'm willing to take on because I know the game, know the system, and I'm willing to take that on in order to go through that process of resolving and setting the accounts and setting in the claims and trying to go through that to see, okay, this be interesting to see what happens. And I don't know whether Michael John had a similar case. Was it you, mate? I can't remember where he actually had an accident and had to go through that whole ordeal. Is that correct? Just to bring you in, mate? I'm not too sure. whether you're the right person.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I had an accident, and I went through the process, and then what I found is the insurance company of the woman that I hit, they actually talked her out filing a claim because they saw the power of the bonds.
Oh wow.
They completely talked her out of filing a claim. So then she came after me for a criminal charge. So in the end, I ended up settling outside of court. I settled with her just to pay for the damages. It was only $1,000 worth of damages, but what I noticed is, yeah, the underhanded work that took place just to make sure that it didn't go through, that she didn't actually file a claim. They convinced her to not file a claim.
Interesting. Okay, well there you go. So that's pretty interesting in regards to that's the only person I know that's been in an accident and that's happened. So the paperwork obviously, yeah, was enough to put off the insurance firm, but then she went through the criminal. Is this a criminal act? Not really. If you have private title and registration of your vehicle, then showing that there's no rebuttal, it's all lawful and above water, right? And you can then prove that there's no crime in that. And then you have the insurance as well for the bond and the acceptance through silent acquiescence. So, but mate, if you, like I said, these are all optional technologies that people can try and utilize in their life, but there's always a risk with that in regards to, you know, if something does happen, it's not going to be as automated as it would be if you're in the public system. And so again, in a way, there are advantages and disadvantages for being in the public system in regards to things like that, and or, you know, having a local title to your private conveyance and going down that road. For me, I don't get any speed tickets, don't get pulled up on ANPR. Most of them just leave me alone. I can do what I want. I can park where I want without getting feed, fined, levied. Even when I was in Brisbane City to run in to pick something up, and it took longer than normal, I parked in a space that you could not park. And I come back, there's a bloody tow truck there. There's like 5 guys stood around my car, and they had their little iPad out, and they were like, come here, is there an issue, mate? So yeah, what is this your vehicle? It's like, yeah, it is. We can't even find it on the system. So you can't initiate taking it off the road. Because they were looking up AGM 777. It wasn't even on there. So they didn't have the right to take it because they didn't have the title. They're acting on behalf of the Crown, who are going after the possession, which I thought I owned, but I'm not. I'm merely renting from the Crown because they hold the you know, the legal title to the thing, or the legal title to the thing. So again, there's benefits, there's pros and cons to everything we do in the public and or the private. For me, it's beneficial for me to do that and have a private number plate and go around and have it backed by the insurance bond. And if I get in an accident, I know what I need to do. It's fine. I'll go through the motions. You know, so but if I wanted to, so because I've got no claims, the insurance on the public side with the public registration will be quite cheap for me, but then I'll be subject to all the codes of the road, the penalties that come with that. If I'm like 5 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, you know, you get automatically slapped with because it's all automated nowadays, the AI and all the systems, the cameras. So for me, that's a nightmare. I'm loving it. I'm free on the roads. It's the best feeling ever. Because it's also like a big fuck you to the system, you know? So yeah, it just depends, bro, what you want to do. And like you said, rightly said, yeah, knowledge. Once you get more of the knowledge and kind of, you become more confident. It's positively correlated, knowledge and confidence.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So you did say to, I think it was Gaza earlier about replying to this standard template, this press enter template, and asking them specifically for somebody to properly rebut it, rather than just a templated computer printout. So I
Yes.
think that's the next thing to do. And yeah, I think because if you're not ready and the consequences come, it's quite stressful. It can be quite stressful. But yeah, as you said, my goal is to be tax exempt and to be completely free of the system. And having touched the system a few times now, I know it's just a matter of time, and it's confidence ultimately.
Yeah.
The more confident you are, that shines through. If you're not,
Exactly.
it goes through as well, and then they treat you based on the energy that you project forward.
Spot on, man. Yeah, you got to see this from all levels: spiritual, energetic, and physical, with how you behave in person and also on paper, and the aura you carry with all of this, and how you approach this, and your intent in all of this too. And then it goes back to the 6 Ps. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Know what you're putting yourself into. Do a risk assessment, cost benefit analysis, is this something that I feel like is going to be good for me with my life? Weigh the pros and cons, and you'll find your answer. Some people, it's not for everyone, this journey. You have to have big balls of steel and like a big heart and a steely attitude and assertiveness, because this system's been going for many thousands of years, and it's designed to do one thing: keep us all domesticated, placated, tranquilized, and as sheeple, obeying, mindfully obeying the system, not asking questions, as all of you rightly know, just being here and signing up to the course. Because that's kind of like the basis of the problem. So the solution is here, but yeah, we have to be steadfast, brave, honorable, courageous, strong, and willing to be tested, because it is all an initiation.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks. Always thank you for your time. Yes.
Yeah, and G Perry, yeah, thanks for sharing all your successes too. It helps the group. So yeah, very grateful, mate. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Okay, so I have next person with their hand up. I've got Marina. Hi, Marina. Oops. Hello, Marina. Can you? I can't hear anything coming from you, Marina. Was it you that had the? Oh no, it was Elizabeth that had the microphone issues. Do you wanna? Yeah, maybe sort out your mic and then come back to me later. I'll move on to guys. If you got a question, right? Can you put little hand up in your chat if you have the question? But I'll try and go to. Is it Jan Simon? I know you've been waiting there a while, mate. Do you wanna? Have you got any questions, brother? You want to share? Just unmute yourself. That's it.
Hello,
Hi,
can you
mate.
hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yes, yes. I know I'm in fact new in this journey. I'm from Europe, Slovenia. Okay, so we have this different in language. Uh, we had a group here uh, which was doing this UCC and security agreement and so on. It's a little bit different than your teachings, and I'm going through. But I would like to. I need to go to the to these other modules where you think how to open the business over the UPU. So I'm in this process, but I don't know which number it is. It's the 11, the UCC. At that stage where I need to learn how to do it, because I would like. I closed my limited company. I want to get out of the system because it's it's bad. We all know it. It's nothing good. Also, if you want to do something good in the system, it's impossible because the system pushes you to. I was in the medical field, dental technician, and the system is designed so you're not doing good for people. So it's against my late last 5 years. It's pushing so much in this negative situation. So I decided to quit. So I would still like to help people, but I would like to do it like in a private member association or something like that. But I'm searching this. I'm in this phase for a good year now. So there are a lot of questions how to do, how to turn over. And on the other hand, I have a dad who has a Parkinson's disease. So he needs 24/7 and I need to help my mom. So it's not so much time to just study this. And on the other hand, I'm a father of 7 children.
Oh wow.
So
Jeez.
so this process is
Good on you.
taking slowly, and I cannot rush. I need to
Sure.
choose my battles and so on. So I don't want to be in a hurry, but yeah, things will move on. So because I have 2 children with my previous wife, so she will probably put me soon to the court because now I'm unemployed at this moment. So we will see how it go. But anyway, I have a few questions about this. When when you go through this UPU, we did it a little bit different. The group was here, but also the member is a little bit older, and now he has some health problems with his kidneys. So it's, I would say, it like died off a year ago. So I was searching others groups like Albion Group and Sovereign Project and so on. So I'm, it's like a tree, the roots, and which way I need to choose my way that I feel the most confident. Yeah? But when we send these UCC security agreements to our government, they said they are not, they replied that they are not, that they do not recognize these papers and so on. And it's not their way. So they send it back, this reply, and we send it, no, if you don't know where it is, you should send it on the right place. And then they send us back the reply letter from ours. No, we are returning all the stuff, but they didn't send their security agreement or anything. This was last year. So for me, it's like it's done deal. So I still, let's say, I say that this is accepted by the system still, the security agreement. But now we did it like we do this, like you do, like you showed us, the live life claim. So you send it to yourself and it's registered through UPU. So I was now asking if I do this business through UPU. So, and then if you have, let's say, when I get all this number, what do I need to do? Should I go to the company? Because the problem is the company who are selling medical devices now, you know, they want all, this regulations and that you are certified, I don't know, user. Otherwise, they don't sell you. So if I do this stuff now, how can I make an agreement that they will, let's say, sell me stuff that I need?
What would you need to be able to buy the stuff off of them? A certificate,
No,
license?
no, no,
What is
no,
it?
no. It's everything that I need for my work in order to work is a, let's say, medical device.
Uh-huh.
And now in Europe, we have a medical device regulation.
Okay.
Okay, so everything you buy, you need to be a certified, let's say, dental technician to
Uh-huh.
be
Sure.
able to buy it.
Sure.
Okay, so when I had a limited company, I was certified, but the regulations that they put on, like tracking all this stuff, this nonsense, I can say it now. If we put, let's say, we know, gold. Gold is gold. Okay. So if you put gold into the patient's mouth, it used to be dental gold. Okay. Now it's not dental gold anymore. Now it's medical device. Okay. So they changed the title of the dental gold to medical device.
Mm-hmm.
And now this dental gold has an expiry date. Okay, so if you do not sell it in a period, it's the gold expired and you need to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just losing value and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a lot of nonsense. But to be able to buy gold, you need to be, let's say, in their system. I shut down the system. The company was shut off on Friday. And on Monday, I received a call, oh, from the bank, you shut down your company. You have 72 hours to close the account. Or if you wish more, then you let us notify. We will give you up to, I think she said 2 months. a time period, and this is it. Then we close it down.
Hmm.
And then they filed me the papers, and on the papers it was here you have the papers for closing your bank account. And what I read, you don't close the account because then it will be still open. I want to terminate the account, the bank account. Okay, so they cannot use it. And I messaged them back. No, these are not the right papers. I need to terminate the bank account because I terminated my limited company. And she said, no, no, it's fine. So I changed their papers and I said, I will terminate. I signed cross. I said all rights reserved, and it was fine. They took it. They accepted, you know.
Mm.
So you just need to know what you want to do. But in the UP registration of a new company to be able to buy medical regulated devices, I'm not sure what to do.
Okay, so you need a company that's registered under regulation in order to purchase this specific medical device to continue practicing. So all you
Yes,
need is a registered corporation, and that gives you the necessary qualification to go and then buy what you need. Is there anything
yes,
else
but
you need?
no, I don't want to be in the system. I want to register it on my own, private.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just trying to, so all they're requiring people in order to receive this medical device, the gold, is to have a registered corporation. So if you have a registered
Yes,
corporation, that then qualifies you to
yes.
be able to purchase the gold, right? For your practice.
Yeah, registered corporation plus certify that you are in this field, that you have this knowledge, you know, the license, like a license to operate.
Okay, sure. So you have that under your personal name, your strawman name, the certificate.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yes,
you're qualified in that regard. So yeah.
yes,
So if they're requiring a business registration, then you might just have to play the game in regards to keeping a public registered business on that side. But what I would recommend before even doing any of this or alongside doing this is to first set up what I teach on the course to capture your straw man and have the whole estate set up with that. With, like you said, you've already got the
okay,
security agreement done, which is good. That's literally the most powerful document on this plane is the security agreement. All the UCC and the PPSR stuff is just a notification to let people know that this is in order. We have a contract between these two individuals, and this is what's going on. So we can also send privately to individuals to notify them of this security agreement we've got going on with the creditor debtor relationship. Okay, but just through securities law, we must kind of have some kind of public registry platform. UCC, everyone's part of Unidroit, so even if they do deny it, you could just see whether that country is listed under the member states of Unidroit, and it'll be
yeah, I
accepted.
checked it. It is,
Yeah. And so
yes,
if you got that done, mate, then your bonds, then you can do your foreign tax exempt status. You've got everything set up. You personally with your bank account is protected, it's liened, it's held under Schedule A of the security agreement, it's backed by the bonds. You're managing your whole account appropriately. Anything that you do require of new assets, you put under Schedule A in the security agreement that the straw man is pledging to you as the living secured party creditor. And so when it comes to then handling the situation, I guess, with okay, the European Union are saying that wherever you are, the regulations are you must have a registered business. You don't have that at the moment, but you've got the certificate in order to purchase what you need to continue your business. Why don't you just set up the public registered business? And what you can do is also put that business under your Schedule A security agreement for the straw man, because it's the straw man that has to go through registering the business to set up with the state. Have the straw man pledge
yeah,
that to you on the private side as a secured party creditor, then that brings it under the issuance and backing of the bonds. And then what you can do also, once you have that established and on the filing on your security agreement, write another claimant of tax exempt status to recapture that registered entity, which is backed by the bonds, to your local tax office to try and make that corporation tax exempt, or provide a remedy for any taxes to be set off against the bonds that's backing your estate. That's how I'll play it. Otherwise, the only other option you have is to self-register a corporation, so-called, come up with any name under your own hand and seal, under your court of office through the Postal Road network, set up a new digital mailbox address, have that as the venue of your so-called new company, and then set everything up, security agreement, bonds, foreign tax exempt status, have that registered, and then see whether you can then go and apply with that company that you privately set up under your own court of office, hand and seal, and see whether that passes the regulations. You won't know until you try. So that's the only option for you if you want to go down the private roads. If not, because they require a public registered company or some kind of company, your straw man is a company, like it's a corporation sole, right? You can see whether you
Yes.
can set things up through that, but it'd be a bit trickier. So it's probably best to come up with a new name, new digital mailbox venue, and see whether you can create that corporation yourself, like we do with the 508c1A. I show in module, I can't remember what module it is, but setting up the faith-based organization. In order for me to open up a bank account with that organization, when I self-registered it, I created my own articles of incorporation under my own hand and seal and sent that off as proof from the bank requiring proof to open up the accounts, and it worked. So you could do exactly the same for your corporation. Basically, everything the government does when registering and handling the administration of these registered entities, having the knowledge we have with our own court of office, we can do the same. We can issue the same kind of documents to try and appease jumping through these hoops of what they require in order to get what you need to continue your business. So does that help answer your question? You got a few options there.
Yeah,
But you just have to
yeah,
try, kind of use the noggin a bit in regards to the basis of the technologies taught in the course, the post-road mechanics, the power of self-registration. Think that what we do with the Strawman is a corporation we can do with any other corporation, and we can set up an entirely new entity under the same kind of model with the technologies backing it, and try and get that entered into the system to then another token piece in the Monopoly board game to then start having negotiations and contracts with the system and see whether they accept that entity to jump through their so-called regulatory hoops in order to get to where you need to go to, play the game on both sides, as it were.
yeah, because like you said, Strawman is a company, and then they want from Strawman to make another company.
Yeah. So
The
you can just
system.
just go through the same process we do with the straw man, but for a company, but on the private side that you control the legal title and rights of because you've self-registered it, issue similar documents to like articles of incorporation that they would other issue under your own, court of office seal, like I've done with the allodial title for private conveyance. You see for my car in module 18, you've got the power
Yeah.
and authority now to be able to do that and create your own certificates. And this is the thing. Once
Yeah.
we know this, like we effectively become our own government. Like I've said to people as well, I produce my own IDs. I can produce my own passport. I can produce my own certificate of competence to show that I am competent in administering whatever it is they require to prove that we're qualified to administer, which is normally either a certificate or a license. But what is a license? Permission to do that which is otherwise illegal within that system. So we can grant our own permissions and then put it in a certificate or a license or a card, or like I said, a passport, as long as we're following the correct procedure of postal roads, registration number, and all the things that are needed to appease whatever that document is. Load your title, got the name of the card, description, private number plate, self-register it, send it off, notify them of what you're doing, being honorable. Guys, if you got any protests, let me know within 14 days. If not, that's permission. I'm going to go ahead. Cool. Don't hear anything back. You got your permission. Plain sailing.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. If you got any more questions, mate, just in Telegram. If you need help along the way, if you got questions that come up over the weeks and stuff, just send me on Telegram. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries, Jan. Cheers, Jan. Well, who's been waiting for a while to ask a question? Have I missed anyone out? I know, Elizabeth, I had you initially. Did you sort out your microphone? Do you want to jump on, ask any questions? No, it's not working. Still not working. Do you want to type it in the chat, maybe, if you've got a short question? If it's a long question, just send me on Telegram. Who else? We got Perry? Perry's next. He's got his hand up. Or who have I missed? There's someone else. I know psychology. Mate, you there? Do you wanna have you got any questions? Or Oksana? Oksana, if you're there, do you wanna
Yeah, I typed mine on what do
okay.
you call it? Sorry, my
It's all right, mate.
sound is gone now. Hang on, I'll
I can
come
hear you,
back.
mate.
I'll
Okay.
sort out my sound.
Okay. Doesn't have a question. Okay, no worries, Elizabeth. That's all good. Oksana, are you there? Have you got a question or questions? Nope. Jan? Jan, are you there?
Hi,
Yeah, Alex.
I'm
Oh,
just a
sorry.
newbie, so I'm just hanging out and just observing
Okay, no
and
worries.
absorbing. But
No
nice to
problem.
meet you and everyone else too. No
Likewise.
questions yet.
Glad to have you here. No problems. Okay. Is it Jan? Jan, are you available? Do you have any questions?
Alex, it's Marina and myself have been waiting for a while to ask questions.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Hi.
Hi, this just going back to something you mentioned when you were on the Albion calls earlier on in the year.
Yes.
It relates to the will of your late mum. And we've got a few questions that's cropped up within Albion, the same thing. Obviously, these things become quite pertinent because the will and testament, of course, is within the legal affray. And so all the process of probate goes through legal affray. But in real terms, because the quote unquote parent has not rectified their standing prior and therefore declared themselves separate from the ens legis, the sweat equity within their lifetime that achieved the standing or the value of the estate is arguably still there for the claiming for the beneficiary or true heir. Beneficiary, of course, is a legal title. So which, if you have looked at, because I know you just said you were thinking of doing so with your mother's estate, if you have followed through with that yet, which route did you follow through as? Either the living total separation or going through and using security agreement to lay claim over the assets? Or did you not yet do any of it?
I can't actually recollect in my own memory me mentioning that I was going to claim my mother's estate. I knew my mum was going through, obviously she was deceased, and so I was executor going through probate on her estate via her will. But I was otherwise at the same time, trying to liquidate my own straw man estate. So it's exactly the same process. Whether you do it on behalf of someone else or your own straw man, it will be exactly the same process. If they're deceased after the fact, you would have to obviously state the facts, but it'd be, I think, a lot more difficult compared to if someone were to do it on their own in regards to having the superior claim, given the relationship of how that entity is set up from our birth. So I can only, like I said, I've commented on what I'm doing specifically for my own straw man in regards to the actual normal probate that everyone goes through when people pass away. Yes, I went through that process with my mum's estate. And that was exactly how I teach with what we're trying to do with the straw man setup, apart from we're the beneficiary and we're trying to assign to get someone within the system to sign up as executor or personal representative. That's the tricky thing because they're not willing to perform.
Yeah, so it's possibly quite a can of worms trying to do anything post death because the documents are all tied into the ens legis and there's no rebuttal from their side. So not only have you got to prove from your standing, you've also got to prove that your standing gives you authority and you have that agreement in play, or there is that inherent right.
The only way, the only way that you could have played that is if before, and I could have played this as well, like looking in hindsight, if I was more proactive and thinking ahead, I would have got my mother to change the will and actually in her will state the SEDI trust.
Yeah.
That's the only way that I can think. If you're much better trying to exhaust liquidating your own estate than going after someone else's if they haven't put that in their will. If anyone's in a situation where, you know, a loved one, or even in the future, just making precautions, has an opportunity to write a will or amend a will if they're kind of, you know, nearing the end, see whether they can get them to write in stipulations to dispose and distribute the ZKV trust that's in their name. And also on behalf of them, try and find their QSIPs, ISIN, SINs number and put it in there, because that way it's irrefutable that then that has to go through court with the executors who are assigned. And even you can probably even try and get them to assign, for instance, a public trustee as executor, but they might read that and think, because the ZKV trust there, they might decline it. Like obviously I tried just recently with public trustee and I shared the correspondence from them to deny being appointed as executor or personal representative. But if, say, for instance, my example, my mum, me and my sister were executors, and so we had the power to then go through the courts in order to, you know, get a grant of probate. And then even with what was, if she changed it to be like ZKV trust to be distributed and appraised, we would then have at least a kind of a way in, as it were, to try and get after information about these assets that we need to appraise as executors. Or even they probably would just end up saying, look, we'll get a letters of administration done here and we'll appoint the public trustee to get this done on your behalf. So that's hindsight. But if anyone is in that situation, they have a loved one or someone they know that maybe, I don't know, nearing their end soon, or just precautionary going forward, it's worth actually probably doing on their will. That then will give you, then if they appoint you executor, will give you a lot more leeway and more of a foot in the door, as it were, to kind of have that conversation and try and press the issue.
Yeah, I was also contemplating if it's a contentious probate matter and it's being brought anyway into the court for direction, which is not necessarily where anybody particularly wants to find themselves. There would then be the opportunity for the same thing, depending how much you're prepared to open up the floodgates to introduce the CQV within any quote unquote witness statement that's been presented for that direction. But of course, anybody in that position would have to be prepared that the ruling of the High Court, it is now the business court. It deals with probate in the UK. And so, of course, they're only looking at it from a business stance, the commercial aspect. It's an interesting thing. And I just remember the conversation from earlier on, but obviously each their own and everything. And it was a curiosity more than anything else. But thanks for that, Alex.
No, that's good. No, because it's made me think also like another way in. That's good you brought that up. So it's provided an angle I've not thought of before.
Yeah, well, if you challenge any of the activities within an estate that's been managed by the personal representative or the executor, and you find whatever route it may be, whether it's over accounting or not dealing with the estate proper, whatever, then obviously the court the accounts cannot be settled by and signed off by the beneficiaries, but for the personal representative or the executor, then that automatically instigates the Part 64, which requires them to seek direction from the court on decisions. And each beneficiary, by default, has the right to provide their point of view without necessarily contesting the claim for the court to settle the matter.
Sure.
But it is convoluted.
Yeah, that I get. I was referring to if someone else is passing away, you can then, you know, get them assigned you as executor, knowing what's going on with the setup, and get them to relist the stipulations to have the ZKV trust in there to
you could do that.
Possibly distribute.
Yeah, you could add that with the codicil onto the will prior to passing.
They can. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, in regards to trying to go at it alone, like what the Supreme Court here in Queensland, at least, they have powers to revoke letters of administration and grant probate of a will. But also, if you find yourself in a situation where you're in possession of a will as a beneficiary and the personal representative or executor does not want to perform, then I have a leeway to apply to the court for letters of administration, which is basically them then rearranging and appointing someone else who's willing to perform. And so this whole while I've been building up the paper trail of showing their dishonor. And now that I've got the proof, sent in registered post, my recent correspondence with public trustee were actually CC'd in the committee of 300, and also my SINs, ISIN, and QSIP numbers. that I now have all the evidence I need, I believe, to then go down that avenue as a beneficiary who has an interest in this estate, bearing the will of the so-called deceased, straw man, and seeking remedy because the personal representatives are not willing to perform. So please, can you appoint someone else who is, so I can receive what is I'm entitled to on the will as beneficiary. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and then all you're hoping for then is that the public trustee who is then appointed does not then act in the interest of the state to try and draw from the estate for the benefit of the estate, because that's certainly what's happening in the UK, is they're targeting inheritance, not only through the normal process of inheritance tax, which has been so pernicious, but they're also targeting estates through the process of lawfare, which makes it inherently more costly for each to go in and out of the court system, and also to protect that estate itself. And in the process of doing so, the legal entities are racking up the bills, which basically drains the value in the estate. So it is a fine line, because the control of all that estate is not within our grasp. The control of that estate is firmly held within the system, unless, as you say, you're the executor and have full control of that, and you can withdraw and remove and place as you wish. And of course, an executor, I believe, can.
That won't
No,
happen.
they won't.
No,
No, they won't.
just
And that's why I'm
reappoint
saying,
it.
yeah. So even if they replace the existing executor through list administration with a public trustee, the risk, I feel, the risk of that repeat is the same. And in the process of doing so, you are diminishing the value on that estate as the fiat currency value of the estate.
Yeah,
So,
possibly.
yeah.
But that's it's probably the only avenue though. And if you got the Sedicable Trust on the private side, they track down all the assets listed and have been registered in that name, the securities and the accounts backing that, then you as a beneficiary have a right to the accounts and the appraisal of that they do. And then obviously also their terms and conditions in regards to how much remuneration they take out of the estate as part of their rights executor in order to process that will. Which it might be a sizable chunk, but based on the size of the whole estate at large, you're probably going to be left with life-changing amounts of money anyway. So it's not really going to be an issue. But yeah, it's worth questions, certainly worth posing and thinking about for sure. But yeah, you're right. Even just like say for a normal will, for someone who's not thinking about the private side, if they appoint public trustee, they probably will take advantage of that, probably take more of what is in the estate than say you or I being appointed as like a family member or friends. So makes sense.
But as you say, it's worthwhile those who are in the situation which they may find themselves in the next year or two, 3 years, 4 years, to have that discussion, because it would be so much easier to have that open discussion than it is trying to deal with it after the fact.
I just didn't. I should have. I was in a perfect opportunity to do that. Bless my mum, but I just didn't even cross my mind. There you go. But I was still leading up to that point of the probate. You know, that's when I was 2024. I came into the banking law practices. Richard Werner, how the winner guidance of bank credit creation, then the committee 300 document kind of circled back, and then it was the kind of probate. So it was all kind of like unfortunately, if I could go back in time, I would change it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And it does depend, of course, that the people around you and your families and stuff, or those that are actually come to the last parts of their life, are in alignment and
you got that too.
Have a clue about any of this, and sadly many don't. All right, thanks very much, Alex. I'll yield.
Yeah, no worries. You're welcome. Thank you. So who's been waiting quite a while, hasn't asked any questions yet?
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm on the phone now.
Hello. Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. The driver's license. How important is that to have? Because I surrendered it to the New South Wales nearly 4 years ago, and I've been just travelling without the license in an unregistered car. I will do what you've done when I get my ITIN number, but I'm just wondering, is it important to get it back or not?
I mean, I follow the principle with what I learned from Mark Hisham Christopher and David Wynn Miller, is that you should learn to live and eat and sleep in the world of fiction, learn to live and eat and sleep in the world of fact. In that, I still use my passport issued by the system. I still have the driver's license issued by the system, but I've made joinder to that. And all of that is being controlled under Schedule A of my security agreement. But what I've done with my car, which is what I recommend you do, which you don't need an ITIN number for, is simply using the post road mechanics and the knowledge to set up our own court of office, right, under our own hand and seal, is to set up and establish the allodial title private conveyance for your vehicle. Obviously,
Okay.
have your private number plate, which sounds like you probably have on there if it's unregistered,
Yep.
set up. Have obviously your estate set up with a security agreement, have all that kind of your car listed under Schedule A, backed by the bonds, right? And then write in with them with the allodial title, the cover letter explaining the situation and stipulate in that letter, like I did, that you can see in the course, that I wish to be identified by my diplomatic ID, and that this would be sufficient to show any other policy enforcer policing the roads, that I do have lawful right to travel in transit upon these sea lanes, because it's non-commercial, acting in my private capacity. And so I put that stipulation in there, and obviously also highlighted the definition of license from their LexisNexis legal dictionary here, that definitions of a license is otherwise permission to do something that's otherwise illegal, and just reiterating my competence, that I have got your license that you issued here, and it's recognized that I am competent, but it's not, I don't need to show that to you guys to prove that I am driving, because that's otherwise a driving license. What's the definition of driving? Committing commerce. I'm not. I'm non-commercial private transit travel upon the sea lanes, or upon the roads on the land, rather than the sea lanes on the water that they brought over the land. So just, yeah, completely removes your jurisdiction on the land from the waters. And that's where the driver's license is always needed, because that's the sea of commerce. Whereas if you go through my allodial title pack, it's self-explanatory as you read the letter that I highlight this fact, but I still have my driver's license.
Yeah.
But it's just leaned against, controlled under the estate with the security agreement. But I've stipulated under that document with the allodial title pack that I don't need to present it. I can travel under my diplomatic ID, and that's sufficient ID to be identified within the system when I'm traveling privately, for leisure, non-commercial means.
Okay. The passport. So going through your information, I've realised it's better to keep updating our passports. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, keep their documents, just make joinder to them. Like you see my passports, right? I've got UK and Australia.
Yep.
And this is another story, guys, actually, I'm going to tell you. But you see what I've done here with my passport?
Yep.
I've just stuck on the observation page the front page of my ID,
Oh, okay.
of the diplomatic ID. And then on my Aussie, so that's my Aussie. On my UK, I've just done, this is when I first came into doing it, off the back of Mark Kishon Christopher's course, and as I was going through learning more, just, because they provide on the page an opportunity to autograph and then list anything you wish to list.
So which one would be better to do?
Up to you.
Okay.
Both kind of are acting to correct the assumption presumption. Because the problem is when you present these things to agents in the public, you kind of, that they see that as you're admitting that you're the straw man. But when you have this up here, or even you see David Wynn Miller, even with his driver's license, Mark Kishon Christopher, I did that on the back of the driver's license, had this like little fold over piece of paper, sellotaped to the top, that also had this kind of correction.
Okay.
So if you handed that to a police officer, they'd be like, what's this? And they'll read it and you see similar to this. Well, this is actually the correction. So I'm not stopping correct your assumption presumption. I'm not this strawman entity. This is my status up here, but I'm in full control of this guy down here. The Phantom himself, the black and white version. Or the one stuck in the hologram. Like, remember the Trinity that's set up with the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, the surname, the living name, and the first and surname brought together to create the straw man, the Holy Ghost. They have that displayed on the IDs. So they got there's the hologram, there's the.
Oh yes.
Or this will be your living self, and then this will be basically so this will be your living name.
Yep.
And this will be kind of like your straw man, and then the hologram, one of them will be like the crown, but you can see how they list it and separate the names. So the surname's up top, and then the given name is down below. That's showing the two different entities, but there's a third, which is the surname, which is owned by the crown, that kind of oversees the other, well, at least the straw man, and you, hoping that you step up as surety for. But when you do this, we put them on notice to say that no, we're not.
Okay.
we're in control of it. And so
But,
yeah, I'd use both, but
okay.
you can also. I mean, I've not got to that point yet, which I might in the future. Even get to the point where I can issue my own passports and see if I could go down that road, and then issue a treaty off the back of that, and just speak to countries or United Nations, go straight to the United Nations, and just put a claim in and say, look, this is me. These are all my paperwork. This is what I stand for. Here's my stipulations. I wish to travel freely under this kind of jurisdiction, this status, this standing. If I don't hear from you guys, then you agree that I have free access. Then just list your stipulations, like even not being able to do the biometric scanning if you don't want to do that. Have free access expressways with the diplomatic lanes, using your claiming diplomatic status, all these things, right? That you can basically set up to claim on paper and send out to these guys, as long as you give them notification, opportunity to rebut, and have it all set up first, and then put them on notice. If they don't rebut, then that's your permission. Which I think, like I said, 99.99% of the times, they won't contest against that. As long as you're acting honorably and you appear professional about it, you'll be fine. You should be able to do it. But just quickly, I want to say before I get to you, Billy, I've been traveling recently. I went from Australia to Thailand, then Thailand to England. Then when I left England to go back to Bali, Australia via Bali, I had both my passports, and it's the only time where when I obviously went to check in, the woman looked at my passport and she looked absolutely baffled and bedazzled when she saw what I put on the observation page. And so she looked at me and she's like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, what is this? And so obviously I had to explain. I said, yeah, look, I see I've got it on my other passport, but I've got a different variation of which you can see. And she's like, and she grabbed she grabbed this one and she looked at both of them. She goes, hang on a minute, let me just speak to someone. So she went to speak to someone. There was a lot of back and forth. They got the senior officer out and they're all discussing about me. And they went over to that, they got that kind of standalone computer, which is like 20 meters away from the check-in counters. And they're all kind of like gathered around and they're kind of looking at me and they're kind of discussing, looking down again, and looking at me. And like, then she came back over and she goes, I've never seen that before. I was like, you don't look dodgy though. I was trying to explain to her like what it meant. And she's like, okay. And then she started serving other people. Anyway, 30 minutes I had to wait. Then in the end, they came back and they said, here you go. So it's just a waste of time. But it's obviously the first time, she was quite young, bless her, that she wasn't too sure what to do. And I was just, I assure you, it's all lawful. And all it's doing is correcting my status in order to do this, that, and the other. And so a lot of it obviously just went over her head. So I knew that. I just kind of kept it to the minimum. But yeah, that's the only time where I've had like someone go like, what is this? So anyway.
Question.
Go on. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you told me about that because I didn't want to get my driver's license. It meant that I would have to go through the whole process, starting from the learners, then the P plates and etc. So yeah, that's what that.
It's up to you. I mean, if you don't want to go down that route, if you already got established doing what you're doing, just make sure you got your estate set up with everything and everything's above board then, and you got your load of title for private conveyance and you got the vehicle bonded, insured in that sense, and you have your pack sent in stating your claim of how you wish to be treated on the roads and what are you using that car for. Non-commercial, private transit travel. You don't need a license to do that. That's fine. So it's up to you.
Yeah.
So
because I had an incident with the police, or two police officers, back in February, which I say they had to do a lot of what was it? They threatened me so many times for that 2.5 hour. I had end up giving my name, and then first he said, one cop said, just give us the drug test and give us our details, we'll just find you and you can go. So I did that, and then the other cop comes with the fingerprint machine, and I said, well, how many fingers? And he said, the whole lot. And I said, no, I don't consent to this.
Yeah.
And I said it 3 times, and he put it back in the car, but he gives me a court notice, attendance court notice. And I didn't go to court. I didn't step foot in the court. I just ended up sending an affidavit. If you want to summons me to court, then summons me in my given name.
Yes.
And then as I said, well, and take the money out of my trust. So that's what they did. So I was given a fine, but I never stepped in the court, and yes, and I just sent the fine back. So yeah, I haven't heard anything since.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're not contracting with them.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing it your own unique way. That's perfect. Yeah, so you're in a good position because it's unregistered and you're not you know the game of contract and you're not giving consent, and you're just stating, hey, look, yeah, I'm willing to play ball, but you're going to address me first and just my given name. They don't have on their system. So that's evidence of the live born identity. So yeah, that's again so simple but so effective. There's so many ways to skin this cat. You can attack the language. You can really go whole 9 yards and do the whole forensics on their documents and forms like I did with the courts and highlight all the discrepancies and back them in a corner. But then again, it's just going to always be backed by, look, not willing to contract you guys, do not give you permission. I do not recognize your authority, so bugger off. Politely, peacefully on paper. But I was going to say something else and I forgot. But yeah, that's brilliant. Have you got any other questions?
I do have one. When I had to apply for the address overseas in America, I had to have 2 IDs, and I only had my passport, so I ended up getting a photo ID from Service New South Wales.
Okay.
I don't know if that was a good thing.
Like I said, just I mean, you used it to get what you need to get done. So
yeah,
there's no harm in it. It's just another thing that you obviously might have had registered with the system that you can just simply put under the Schedule A, that the straw man has leaned back to you, the living born identity, to control a secured party creditor in that relationship under the private security agreement. So
I was thinking if it'd be wise just to hand it back over and just say I don't consent to any connection.
Yeah, you can. Once you've got what you need to get done, yeah, you can surrender it back. What is it Bill Turner said? Surrender unto Caesar's. What is Caesar's? Surrender unto God. What is God's? Caesar, it's all the registrations of the system. It's the state, the crown.
Yep.
I was going to say, going back to the passport, I know there's a couple, Jason, in Canada, who had success through the ministry with their stipulations under their bylaws as religious exemption to be able to travel without going through any of the digital scanning devices that they now have set up in the airport. So they're able to go through just the human means of simple snaps, procedures to bypass that kind of facial recognition. And even I think they stipulated maybe the other scanning devices that they use on your body and stuff. So it's all there. You're all able to negotiate and stipulate how you wish to be treated within the system, within your terms and conditions, under different vehicles. 508c1a, faith-based organizations, one of them, through the estate of a simple claimant that you want to make on your own behalf is another, like my foreign tax exempt status and the allodial title for private conveyance. You could do a whole nother one for private transit travel across airports or any ports on this planet, and then send it out, notify them all, and then they'll come back to you. Like I said before, and this connects into Psychology's post with him thinking about creating a passport, diplomatic passport. Everything that the government and the system can do, we can do, because we understand the post road mechanics and how that's the seat of every government. And so all we've got to do is, if we want to put a passport together, similar to how we do the diplomatic ID, create the registered postal number, find means in which to get a book made up similar to this that has your emblem, then all the necessary information that states. So you could go through and get inspiration from how they're designing their passports and go through and just do it on your own, but on behalf of your own sovereign nation state, under your own hand and seal. And then once you get it, you can scan it in or send the digital design on a claimant form. So like, for instance, my foreign tax exempt status claimant, but for maybe private transit travel, diplomatic passport, immunity, travel, whatever, how you want to list it as a claimant, and send it out, outlining your stipulations and terms and conditions of how you wish to be treated upon every port on this planet, with this backing it as evidence, and give them like 14 days to protest and say otherwise. And probably the best bet is to then notify the United Nations. Every country is part of the Hague Convention as well, under that Montevideo Convention 1933, with what we claim. CC in your diplomatic ID process of the declaration, and there you have a means in which to try and negotiate your terms and conditions to not only issue your own passport, but have that under diplomatic ID and everything you can think of in regards to how you wish to be treated when traveling across ports. You could even stipulate and put in there the right for you to use the diplomatic ID express check-in and check-out pathways of immigration control. You've seen it, right? They could just whiz straight through there. Like the pilots and the stewardesses and the stewards, air hostesses, just whiz straight through. Whereas all the, the cattle class, we have to queue up and go through all that. So these are things you can think of, but you can still use this. And I queue up, and wait my turn, and I scan it in because I know that I've made joined to this, and I know that I'm not this entity.
Okay.
And I know that I've got nothing to hide. So, and I don't mind having my, face scanned and all this kind of stuff because they don't own it. They can't own it. It's my property, and they know that. I'm the anomaly. We're all anomalies within the system when you get this set up, but they have to appreciate that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There was one more question. It's just a short one.
Yeah, go for it.
I got my EIN for the trust. I just noticed that I made a mistake. You know how with the administrator, you have your second given name first after your surname, and then you put your first name last. I did it the same way as I did as administrator. Oh, trustee, sorry. Does that matter?
How you presenting your name?
Yeah, like you mentioned when you do the one for the trust, the EIN, sorry. As administrator, you're supposed to put your middle name after your surname.
Oh, so basically, yeah, with the advanced treasury pack, that I put in the beginning disclaimer and in the beginning of the course to consider how we should be putting forward our names in regards to the Trinity, right? The given name is one entity, that's us. Then we have the surname, which is the crown, and then the full strawman, which is the full name, the strawman, is the ens legis government created fiction. And so when we're creating documents, we're going to consider that Trinity when putting everything together. And so whatever it is you want to try and assign on these documents, you want the crown to be surety, and you want to be in a position of being like principal beneficiary, secured party creditor as a live-born identity. Yep. And the straw man can also underwrite as well, but he's normally the debtor. He's the debtor, in fact. We're the creditor, and the crown is the underwriter, the surety, which is represented as the straw man. So that's kind of how you'd want to set up the names in everything we do. And that's obviously something I found out after the fact of doing the Treasury Pack, Advanced Treasury Pack module from PJP and Patrick Devine. And that's where I think, again, I found that out from Bill Turner, revisiting Bill Turner's work off the back of that. And it's kind of like I needed to go through that in order to realize that, and then come back and obviously put people on notice that, hey, look, you should consider displaying your names in the correct way. That's why I had to redo my security agreement, then all my filings again, because it made sense to me. And I was just like, yeah, I want to make sure I have this correct, because that's the biggest thing with how they're presenting our names and how we're identifying ourselves within the system. We are just our given name.
So with the administrator and the trustee, the name's supposed to be shown in different ways. Is it better to change that? Just make the amendment?
Yeah, if you if you want to, the trustee in that sense would be the crown. It would be the surname. Yeah, we'll as the given name, just the first name, it'll be the beneficiary. The crown is the executor, administrator, and trustee, because they're the ones with the power to underwrite and come in and act in right of anything that's registered beneath it. And that's even stipulated in the Commonwealth Acts.
Okay.
And then so the straw man is just this kind of entity that floats around on the Monopoly board game as a vessel, a token on the Monopoly board game, seeking an agent to act on its behalf, a surety to act on its behalf. So it's the debtor in commerce, or the token in commerce, that when we do that with the sign of the names this way, that the crown always has to come in to act as agent or surety for the straw man in the setup once you've got your estate set up properly.
Okay. That's all, thanks.
No worries. Thank you for contributing.
Okay.
So, Billy, how are you, mate?
Yeah, greetings, Alex. Absolutely. Yeah, I've jumped in here, so I'm going to stand in honour because people are waiting and have waited before me. I will come back though, but all it was, I was going to interject when you're on about the passports there, that I was told that you're not allowed to write on a passport because we don't own it and it's Crown property. Is that wrong?
Get
You
them to
said
show you
there's a
the
page
laws
there
where
you
it
could write
states
on.
that. If there's a act or statute that states that, then yeah, get them to show you that.
Right, right.
If you
So
yeah, if you research and see that, I mean, what does it say here in the UK passport? It
I've
provides
got one here.
Yeah, it provides you an opportunity to put in your autograph on the observation page.
Observation page, yeah.
This page is reserved for official observations. There are no official observations, but that's under their assumptions and presumptions. And we're here to correct that. So we have the power. On the bottom right, it says holder's signature, right? So this is obviously where we put our autograph.
Yep.
As you can see. And so then what they're claiming is that there's no observations made, but that's under their assumptions, presumptions under the system. We have every right to come in and make joinder to this to correct their assumptions, presumptions, and bring us back under the correct standing and status.
Right.
If you get pushed back, then you say, well, show us the laws that says otherwise. Where is it listed that this is illegal?
Yeah.
I mean, if or in order to bypass that, if you're not too sure, if you want to kind of, cover all bases, all you can do is just have like an appendage that you can just sellotape on the top and fold it over the other side of the page and just have it fold back over. So you can say that it's not actually written on there, but it's just like attached by a bit of sellotape or something, or even a paper clip.
Yeah. Even better. Yeah.
But it's probably better to have something physically on there because you're making a pointer to it then, and that's obviously where the stamp comes in as well.
Yeah, if they rebut that, then you say, okay, that's fine. Show me the law that says that, and I'll abide by it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or like you say, always push it back at all the time, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like a game of ping pong, isn't it? It's bang, bang, bang.
That's all it is, mate. Absolutely. Well, that's tennis. That's why they call it tennis court. That's why they have all the boxes and the umpire that stands in the middle.
Again, tennis court. Yeah.
They're just firing claims. One fires a claim, serves it, and then the other one, the defendant, tries to rebut it, and then it comes counterclaim. That's all it is. It's tennis. That's why you bring rackets to courts. They're all racketeering.
Racketeering, yeah. It's all yeah. It's right there, isn't it? Absolutely.
The tennis court analogy. Yeah, exactly. And there's different boxes have different rules. That's the four corner rule in tennis.
Yeah. Again, yeah. It's right in front of you. You just don't see it.
You don't see
Absolutely,
it.
Absolutely, yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. Michael Jones waited long before I have, so I'll let him go and I'll come back. Brilliant. All right.
Okay, mate.
Fair,
yeah, no problem. Well, yeah, he's asked a question before. So if you've got other ones, mate, we can stick with you and just get them done.
All right. Well, go on then. I've got a standing on, but hang on. Right. Postal road mechanics that you rightly say. Now, I mentioned this the other week on another Zoom call, and this guy said, yeah, but not for much longer. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, all these special delivery and you peel all the stickers off. He said that I'm hearing that they're doing away with them all. Is that true? Or do you know anything? Or does anyone know anything?
Registered post here in Australia, I use registered post is different to special delivery in UK. So double check that whether they're doing it to registered post. That's more superior. That's what you want to use. I think they will still have the stickers. I think because again, it's used by the system for especially the courts and the lawyers to send important stuff and keep it tracked and registered. So yeah, that's something I can't really comment on. I've not done research on the UK to witness that.
Right. Just another couple of quick things. Did you go to your dad's wedding in Cockermouth last month?
I did, yes.
Did you?
I did. Yeah, but it was literally a 4-day trip, and it was really got there quick for the long weekends, and then I flew back out again. So it was a flying visit.
Goosed.
Pardon?
Yeah,
a little bit.
You must have been
jet lagged. Yeah, I was goosed.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet, yeah.
Flying visit.
And one last thing I was going to say was that you come up with a very, very, very interesting thing that you were talking to Deb C about there regarding in the will about the Sescavere Trust and that. Because when you die, I am told that if you don't apply or go after the Sescavere Trust for after 6 months, it's classed as abandoned, and they take it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's probably correct. I know there's 3 months
so if
and
you
6 months. 6 months is in the Public Trustee Acts, where they can make a claim for letters of administration after the birth certificate is registered.
Right. So if you have that mentioned in a will, they would have to put that on hold. They couldn't just go in and take it, could they? While it's been, because then it hasn't been abandoned. Somebody has actually said, you know, we want to try and sort this out. We know about it, and they couldn't just close it down and take it, could they? I believe. Would that be right? Until it was sorted out.
That's what we were discussing in regards to, if you know someone who's, you know, a beloved that, you know, might be nearing passing soon, if you get them on board and they kind of know of this or agrees to this, they can actively, if they're still compos mentis, change their will or add a codicil to then add under their so-called assets, or, you know, their will to what have distributed the Sedicavy Trust, portions of that. And so that's when we're discussing, obviously then that opens up the doorway for the executors to have very interesting conversations with the courts when getting the grant of probate and appraising these estates, that might force the court's hand to reassign the executorship to the public trustee or any one of these agents and administrations, which public trustees probably the main one. The other one would be maybe the central banks, because both of them under their acts have stipulations of an oath of secrecy, right, that they grant in order to basically say that they're managing, you know, two ledgers, one's private, one's public, in that sense. So otherwise, why would you have to take an oath of secrecy? What is there to hide? It's the Committee of 300 document. Yeah, so that kind of, it was good food for thought. Actually, it's something I've not thought of before that Deb brought up, which is brilliant. That's kind of like preemptive rather than after the fact. It'll be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I'll say one thing about them. Like, if you told me it was raining, I'd go outside and have a look, wouldn't you? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right, I'll come back because other people are waiting, and I'll have something else. So, yeah, but great to speak with you, Alex.
Yeah, and Jubilee, thank you so much. Good questions. Right, Michael. Let's go, brother.
Hey guys, I just wanted to come back on and just to stipulate about before with the insurance case that I went through. It was done with, I had the accident in someone else's car. So even though I had the accident in the other person's car, I still feel the bonds would have been honoured, you know, had I have done what I've done now, which is the allodial title over my car. I just wanted to jump in with that. And someone put a question up as well about bills, and I haven't paid bills for over 4 years now. Any sort of utility bills that I've done early on in the course, when I first started the course, I've been accepting for value or even just conditional acceptance. And pretty much every one of the methods that I went through worked. Everything worked, you know. Now I'm at the point in the course where I'll be sending it. I send it to the Treasury, and even that I've had success with that as well. So like my message here is just to keep learning, keep going through the course and applying what it is. You know, I mean, one of the things that you really championed for me is to really, you know, create all the knowledge and then apply it. But in my experience, the way that it's gone, whenever I went through another module, my life would throw me that initiation. You know, so I get thrown in the deep end to be like, okay, you've learned it now, apply it. I hope it's not like that for everyone else, but that's the way it was for me. So I mean, I've had over $50,000 worth of fines, tickets, tolls, that they have not been able to pin me. You know, I've been once again just going back and forth playing tennis with them. And now I've only just recently finished the course today, actually. And now I can see there's an end game. You know, I can really, you know, put him, use the bonds, put it to the Treasury, and then actually in the back and forth. But once again, yeah, this is it's about standing in your square, standing up for yourself, and just maintaining that positive belief that everything we're learning it all works. You know, we've been lied to, and I think part of what this is playing the fool, understanding that we've all been fooled, and not allowing pride to get in the way, and then pride obviously leads to doubt. But there's no doubt here. There's no doubt, not from everything that I've learned. I mean, I drove around unregistered for 2 years prior to my getting a allodial title, and I drove around unlicensed. I got pulled up. Luckily, it was only about a year and a half ago, and because I was able to talk the talk with the police officers, all they could do was take the plates. Right? They took my Victorian plates that were unregistered for 2 years, which was actually a great thing because I'd been meaning to get private plates. So once they took the Victorian plates, I put my private plates on, and I set the allodial title in action. But what I didn't do was notify. I didn't PPSR. I didn't perfect the lien, which happens later on in the course, and I didn't notify the ANPR. So what happened about 2 months in is that a highway patrol car drove past my parked vehicle, and then they stole my private plates, which I found very interesting. Was I there to defend it? Would have been a different story. But they just drove past, took them off, and off they went. Nothing else happened. So I wanted to mention that as well.
That is interesting, brother.
Yeah, it's all part of the journey though, because then once again that triggered my response to go deeper into, okay, what is it that I've missed? What is it that what's the? There's always something that I've missed, and for me, I hadn't notified the proper. I think it was the Minister of Police, the NPR unit. There was some things that I'd missed. So once again, I went back in. I've done my due diligence, and I've set all that straight. So I know the next time if it ever is to happen, I'll be in good stead for that situation. And I just wanted to also mention just about courts as well. I've had many court summons. I've stepped in the courtroom a few times to my own detriment prior to learning what I've learned. But what I wanted to say is that the court summons I've had since understanding that the court is on the paper, I've sent back and rebutted, and obviously said to them that they can't do any sort of legal proceedings against me. And every single time, every single summons has gone away. I had a lawyer try to sue me for $20,000 after I employed a lawyer, and towards the end of before, I think it was the day before my case, I came into the awareness that lawyers are all crooks. So I sacked him, and then he sued me maybe 6 months later. And once again, it went through the process. I did what I did from learning from what I learned from this course, and it went away. He couldn't sue me. They couldn't summon me to court. Summoning the dead. But I think one of the big things here is positive energy is a big thing. We all get into this situation out of standing up for ourselves, out of really standing up to the system, understanding something's not right here. So we are going to get tested, and in those moments, that's the moments for us to really step up and be who we're meant to be in the situation.
Yes, bro, that's beautifully said, and that's so important too. And it's just giving that encouragement to people. Like what is, at the end of the day, fear is the currency of control. What dispels fear? Knowledge. So really important to re-emphasize, as Michael has done brilliantly, the importance of accreting the knowledge first and then applying it. And then obviously once you go through applying it, there will be pushback. That's your initiation. Once you believe and have that knowledge, it dispels all fear. It will get you over the line, and you realize that is basically like what we're doing is the answer. It is the solution. So it's an energetic state that we must kind of get toward achieving when it comes to embodying the knowledge and then living it every single day, living and breathing it and applying it, and not be scared of the system, because it is at the very base is fraudulent, and it's all built on sand. It's a house of cards. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Michael. That's brilliant, brother. That's amazing.
Yeah, I want to say too, well done on. I just found out today that you've actually wrote a book, man. I haven't read it yet, but I started watching the first video on YouTube. It looks awesome, man. So well done on that.
Oh, the Tales of a Self-Initiate.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
And that's the journey. That's literally it. This whole journey it is an initiation, and we're going to be tested every step of the way. But like I said, prepared minds are the ones who are going to have the best success, and are going to steamroll over the pushbacks because you have the knowledge to dispel all the fear. But that's like a university textbook, bro. Took me 6 months to write, but 7 years in the making in regards to my research and all my first-hand experiences, and then kind of then cross-examining everything that I came into. And I even put the strawman stuff in it too, because it all connects: the economics, the politics, the spirituality, the occult, and the new age. and everything in between in my first-hand experiences. Yeah, so appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask one question. I want to ask, have you ever attempted to purchase anything by a purchase agreement on the back of the bonds and having the public trustee relationship set up with the Treasury?
Yes, I have. I tried to buy houses, and I've tried to buy a Bentley and other vehicles. And I trust me, yeah, I've tried like 5 or 6 times. But again, it's just this is when I came to awareness of like, I was like, why aren't they honoring this? And that's when I came across Bill Turner in his timely video release that mentioned this trustee decentor capacity. And that's when I was like, that's it. That is it. And that's kind of the annoying situation we're in when trying to unlock performance with these guys. Because we haven't got the rights as trustee and kind of they see us as not having rights as a beneficiary to order them performing as trustee in that sense. Unless litigation ensues, we're in this checkmate situation. Until we learn to liquidate the estate, that seems to be the only means in which they're reluctant to give up performing as like a trustee or executor on behalf of the will, because all property may be disposed of via will. And that seems to be the only means in which to gain access that Bill Turner alludes to. And it's interesting when I was going through, obviously, putting the case together, then off the back of the case, lamenting and reflecting on what I might have missed, then coming into thinking I should have put the Committee 300 document in to prove that these accounts do exist, found my QSIP, ISIN, SINS number, and just even going through that process, even though it was on the surface like a failure, it was a huge lesson and step up in order for me to address things I didn't see. And so off the back of that, I was like, the only kind of real thing that's stopping us is this concept of a death certificate. Because obviously knowing that the strawman entity on the birth certificate is a dead entity as itself, in and of itself, it can almost be interpreted as a death certificate, right? And I remember off the back of that, I had this dream, lucid dream with Bill Turner there, and we were discussing probating the estate. And I was like, yeah, the only problem I have, and he was sat at the table opposite me, is this concept of the death certificate. And that, like the birth certificate pretty much is the death certificate. And he just looked at me and winked. And that was it. And then I woke up, had this like cryptic message, and I was like, oh, it must be getting close, it must be getting close. Because I was like, he knows, I know he knows. And I think I know he's done it with what he's alluded to throughout all his videos, which is very subtle and clandestine, but he's kind of giving big hints that he's done it and he's living that life. But you must, jump through the hoops, and the will is the key in going through probate, but trying to unlock that performance with, how you jump through those hoops. So I'm there, I'm still knocking and testing. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome.
See what happens.
Beautiful.
If I get success, I'll be sharing, man. If I can share, I'll be sharing. If they
I'm
put
gonna-
an NDA in front of me, would I sign that and go silent? Oh, no. Sign it, receive the money, do a runner, then tell everyone. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, appreciate your contributions. That's amazing. Yeah, really, really inspirational as well for everyone to kind of draw upon that positivity, which is so important. And that really does just come from knowing that, hey, look, I've lived it, I've breathed it, I've had success, Michael's had success, so many other people here have had success. Where you might be feeling that doubt and kind of downtroddenness within the system is just the lack of knowledge, and getting your knowledge base up, putting in the work, and it will really pay off. And by then, at that point, you kind of, it's like riding a bike. You become, unconsciously competent. Everyone starts off unconsciously incompetent, don't know what they don't know, until you realize what you don't know, where you're unconsciously or consciously incompetent, and then you obviously work to apply the knowledge. You become consciously competent until it becomes second nature. All right, it does take time. Everyone learns in their different ways, and every individual gets to kind of the end goal in their own time as well. So just respect your journey and think of the long game rather than rushing and trying to get everything done. Just take your time, make sure it's done perfectly well the first time. And what's the saying? I forgot the saying. I remember seeing a guy wear on his t-shirt, and it will come back to me. But who's got another question? Who we got? Psychology. I'm not busy because I did it right the first time. There we go. That's an important concept to take away. If you do it right the first time, save yourself a lot of hassle. Hi, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'd put my question in the chat, but I can still repeat it. So basically, how do I claim back the deposits or reposits, as some Americans call it, from my bank? Because I've noticed their indentured trustee is not in the US, unlike Barclays, because I had to deal with Barclays before, and I found out their trustee is BNY Mellon, and they're based in the States, so it's easier to do like the whole 1099 OID or the 1099A process with them because it's within their system. So, but with TSB, I found that their trustee is TSB Bonds Limited, and they seem to be based here. So I don't know how I'm going to do that because I've sent them confirmation of my bonds with the Treasury and told them to set off anything that's on my account against it, and they've literally just ignored it. So now I'm going to have to take back everything I've ever put into that account because they're going to claim it back in it as abandoned property.
Yeah, so with the banks, when the transaction is already made with the vendor as a debtor or creditor relationship, right, when you're so-called purchasing assets or services or things within the economy, that happens. So that happens within those two parties, which would require an agreement, like a purchase agreement, which would bring in the bonds, and that's where you would have that negotiation to try and make a secure transaction. With what ends up on the record with the banks, where everything's kind of run through the system with the settlement systems, right? From a creditor or debtor's account, from a vendor, and you as a customer, right? A consumer. That then involves the process of the IRS or the tax agencies with the recoupments. So that's kind of their two separate processes. One's kind of more preemptive. The other one is after the fact, if you haven't gone through utilizing the bonds through trying to get a secure transaction set off or discharge, doing it that way, which I obviously said before, I tried and they've not honored it because of this trustee dishonesty capacity, then you have to go through the recoupment process, which again, I've tried and I've seen a lot of people claim this, that, and the other, but not seen any first-hand proof that it works. The closest I've seen was a guy in Canada who was working with a couple who was on this course, going through the same procedure, that through a ministry somehow was able to get credits when A4V in the voucher when doing the tax returns. And so he provided like maybe, I don't know, 2 steps away proof that they were processing him receiving like a recoupment on these credits that he made up based on what he did with the vouchers with the tax return. But I've not heard anything since. And they said they would let me know if they had success. So again, the jury's out on that one because there's no first-hand evidence and there's all these claims, but I've not seen any first-hand proof that it does work.
Yeah, because there's Matt that's in our group, this group here, and he said he's done it. I've asked him directly and he's not responded because yeah, things are crazy. Like I used to be on UC, and then obviously I had to stand in honor, so I sent the DWP proof of everything, and everything just got stopped. So basically, I look at it like they've updated my status. So, and I've been living on like the gold that I bought before, like so. Yeah, right now it's crazy, which is why I need to get more financially competent.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, with the recoupment and stuff like this, I went down as much as I went down. It wasn't exhausting all possible avenues because I moved on to other things. And so, yeah, people can pick up the thread and, go through what I shared, but then off their own back, take it a bit further if they want and try and qualify these processes. That I just didn't have time to go down because I was moving on to other things, which landed me to, kind of the ultimate remedy, which is trying to, probate or liquidate the estate. And for me, like I said, maybe in the future, I might come back to maybe trying unlocking, doing these kind of things, recoupment. But for now, I'm kind of focused on the meat and bones of it all, which is liquidating the estate. But yeah, you got full license to, permission that you grant yourself to go and do these things and see whether you can get any success out of them.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. You're welcome. Gavin's got his hand up.
Hello, mate. Can you hear me?
Mate, yep, loud and clear.
Cool. Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you put a post in the group to say that you had confirmed your ISIN / QSIP via AI.
Yes.
Yeah, because I had a dabble myself and it just wasn't working for me. I was wondering if you could share that process in a bit more detail. Is it, a specific AI, a certain prompt that will help? Because I was hearing really there's only really one way to ultimately confirm, and that's via a Bloomberg terminal. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you don't, I mean, you don't really need a Bloomberg terminal. Any paid subscription of a exchange, if I just share my screen, I might be able to show you guys what I
Cool.
mean. I use something like Koifin, right? And so when I had the numbers, I can type it into search here and it will come up under mutual funds, right? But unfortunately, when you go to, let's just use this as an example. So you can see here when you go to overview, can you see this, guys, on the screen, by the way? Can
Yep.
anyone see this?
Yep. Yeah, we
Okay,
can.
Thank
cool.
God. Yep.
Yeah, so what you get normally here, right, up in the key data, if we just use, for example, stock, you should have in one of these descriptions, USIN, ISIN. See, there's the ISIN number of
Oh,
this particular security, which is a stock traded on the New York Stock Exchange. There's the ISIN. However, now if we go back to a mutual fund description, you can see here, in order to get the QSIP or ISIN, they don't list it. You have to get like a pro package, which requires a lot more hefty subscription to kind of get hold of that kind of data. But you otherwise have other information regarding where it's held, where it's traded, etc. But there's no QSIP there under this description. However, when I emailed them and corresponded to them, they said, yeah, you can access that, but you need to pay more. And so this is where obviously, yeah, it is sensitive information, which people with money can only access. However, I think when I did the AI, so you can see it ISIN, but here with mutual funds, they just don't list it unless you got like a premium subscription. Same with Bloomberg Terminal, premium subscription costs quite a lot. But with AI, I just used Google, I think it was. And I
was it
put
Gemini?
Google, yeah, Gemini at Google. I forgot what I searched in there. Can you, I can't bring up on the chat. Let's have a look if I can bring up on the chat QSIP. Was it in general? I think it was in general, right? QSIPs. Here we go. Here are the QSIP. So, hi guys, if you've managed to track down the funds on Fidelity linked to your birth certificate or social security national insurance numbers, you can simply search for the QSIP, SINs, and ISIN numbers by dropping the tickers to those funds. What I mean by tickers is like this,
Yep.
VFINX, right?
Apparently you can access some of this stuff on TradingView, I was told.
Yeah, and or TradingView. Yeah, most of these exchanges you can get access to it. And then yeah, I just put it in Google and this is the result that you can see there. So I found out when obviously going through the process of putting in my unique identifiers for my national insurance number and stuff, it obviously brought up, I think, 3 of these mutual funds. So all 3 of these had tickers that obviously following the logic assume that my security birth certificate linked bonds linked to, that whole estate is probably held under tranche put together and held under one of these mutual funds.
Right.
And so then when you put that in the ticker in Gemini to ask for, can you please give me the QSIP, SINs or ISIN number for these tickers? It just went online and searched it. Now they might have changed the parameters of the AI since then, obviously, because they're always tweaking what we can gain access to, and obviously, yeah, setting up the parameters in regards to, AI is programmed not to tell us anything about how to liquidate the estate and get the full answers of that. So it is ring fenced. They obviously got control of all that with the information flows. But yeah, that's how I did it, mate. So maybe try different AIs, go through the process of
Yeah.
trying to find first, the ticket relating to potential numbers linked to your national insurance or birth certificate numbers, and then find out if there's any securities that are traded that are linked that show up in like either Fidelity. You might even be able to do it like in places like Koifin. I'm using Koifin. So I might even be able to put that in and see what comes up on the mutual funds. That's pretty much what it will be under, is mutual funds.
Sure. What I was going to say also, the different trading packages you might use, I think you said Coifin. If you come across a package where you're going to have to pay more to actually use it and to facilitate the information, completely up to you if you want to do this, by the way, but it might even be worth, putting it out to the group. We could all chip in on this package, because I'm sure not just me and you, but I'm sure most of the group are interested in getting their QSIPs and ISINs, and it might be something, if we could find a broker where we could chip in and get a package that's cheaper than getting a Bloomberg terminal.
Yeah, you can also, if you just open up a normal exchange, all you got to do is phone up and speak to one of the brokers over the phone. They've got access to a Bloomberg terminal, and all you got to do is, mate, do you mind punching in this ticker and tell me what the QSIN and ISIN number is, and they'll be able
That's a
to
good
do that.
shout.
Yeah, so you don't even have to worry about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I just, because I'm doing a mental program at the moment where I'm going through managing my own book with trading options, and so I'm
Oh,
like
yes.
live and going through doing all this, and I have to, yeah, I'm doing like a mentorship program with the guys next hedge funds and investment banker trader, and so I'm having to yeah, go through the whole process of how these guys analyze everything that's going on and where to park their money to make good profit. And so far it's doing pretty good, and yeah, long may it continue. And so
Oh, no,
yeah,
I'd be interested to keep my eye on what you share with that. Definitely. I had a quick bit of a dabble with options myself, and it's quite interesting because it also works as like the rule of opposites, doesn't it? When
yeah,
you're
this
doing
is just
options.
yeah, it's all about timing and having the strategy. And the guys, the way these investment bankers trade is completely different to the retail trading market. I mean, they're professionals at the end of the day. Like, they know everything about what's going on. And so yeah, you need a top-down fundamental macroeconomic approach that identifies what's going on in the macroeconomy, that identifies and gives us clues as to what sectors that might be hot or cold in regards to long and short, and then drilling down from those mega sectors, super sectors, into industries and then individual stocks to express our ideas of these themes that are developing based on the macro outlook for the next 3 to 6 months, up to 9 months to a year, because the stock market is a discounting mechanism, and it basically prices in now expectations for the future. So it's a proxy for future expectations of revenue, earnings, and GDP. And so that's always constantly in flux when new information becomes available in the market. And so, yeah, when having an idea and drilling from the top down, we then are able to utilize options contracts to place those ideas and benefit from the leverage that comes from that. And so that's where it's asymmetric risk to return, because you only risk losing the premium of the contract, but there's unlimited upside. But this contract here that I've got with Sentinel-1 was a tail risk trade that I put on back in 22nd of June. And this is the cyber security theme with AI kind of going off and attacking this, that, and the other, and obviously the central bank and the government coming out that we need to have a meeting and make sure we firm up, the cybersecurity software for all firms. And these guys are well positioned as like a large cap firm, part of the Russell 1000. And I've got a December expiry. And for instance, the price target for this with the 25 strike for me is $40, which you probably easily reach. I mean, it's already at 21.33. If I just put in there the mid price now of $40 contract, sorry, it'd be 15, not 40. So 25 plus 15 is $40. That's 53,750. No, sorry, $87,180 return, which is a 3,191% return. Right.
And that's just one cheeky trade.
Yeah, and that's just one cheeky tail risk trade, kind of out the money, far out the money. When I put it on, the price was 14.60. 25 strike, it's already at 21.30. I've got till December expiry. I think this thing's going to easily hit probably 30, but we'll keep an eye on it. I've got over 6,000 shares, so 60 contracts, because obviously one options contract is 100 underlying shares. So I've got 6,000 shares in that, and so yeah, as it goes up, I can just take contracts off, and yeah, profit as I go along, and hopefully that does hit my price target, and maybe even further. If it goes to $20 in the money, that's 117,000. So yeah, you can really position yourself to benefit from this leverage from options contracting. And that's why these guys make ridiculous, abnormal returns and have ridiculous bonuses. And that's why recently Goldman Sachs and a lot of these investment banks were smashing their earnings releases in regards to beating expectations and analyst estimates and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this I share under, I think, the business and investment module, information on ITPM, Institute of Trading Portfolio Management. And this is basically where I have been learning all of this, which is over at ITPM, which I highly recommend to people. But it's interesting, the mentor I'm with has actually broken away with 4 other mentors and has now basically set up their own website away from ITPM, which I'm kind of joining too. So I've still got 4 sessions left with Anthony Iser. He's the main guy that I'm with. He's got a background in JP Morgan, and he had like the top 5% portfolio, long short portfolio, ranked top 5% in the world, and he was ranked third in Asia Pacific for hedge fund advisory. So yeah, these guys know what is going on, and they teach retail traders like you and I basically how to read the markets and where to park your money. And basically,
what's the saying? If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And they're really humble, like they're multi-millionaires. This guy here, I've seen, he showed me the biggest trade he made over a year with the position was 30 million US dollars.
Wow. I wonder, have you spoken to him, see if he knows about all the strawman stuff?
I've not spoken to them yet. No, not about
Okay.
that. I was kept strict on the training. But a few of these guys, they know a few things outside of the conventional. Yeah, so they're a bit more open-minded than most, I think, in finance and the financial world. So yeah, they're just really down to earth, nice guys, and really dedicated to try and make retail traders like professional traders and like consistently profitable, which is what I'm going through. And yeah, I'm currently up 20% on my realized profit and loss on one account, the main account that I'm using, and my other account, yeah, it's up as well. So yeah, doing good. And it's kind of just
Thanks for the
stay in
share.
motion,
Nice one.
rinse and repeat. Yeah. So yeah, does that answer your question, mate, in regards to the
Yes.
QSIP and ISINs and stuff?
Yep, I'll be on the AI after this ends.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you get stuck with the AI, just try different models. But then if you have at least the ticker, that's the key. Then you just literally open up like a Mickey Mouse exchange broker account with anyone and get on the phone with one of the brokers, and they'll have a Bloomberg terminal in front of them or something equivalent that they can search the ticker, and you just ask for SINs, ISINs, or QSIP number in response. And
Yeah,
they'll
I'll
give
give
it to
that a
you.
try. Cheers.
No worries. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up soon, guys. 3-hour mark at 10 o'clock my time. So we've got about 15 minutes. So is there anyone else that has not asked a question that has been here? Please raise their hand. If not, I'm going to go to Billy.
Yeah, just a quick one, really, Alex. What's your take on manifestation? Someone was telling me about the guy called Neville Goddard. Are you familiar with his name?
Not familiar with his name, no.
Neville Goddard is he's one of the authors of manifestation and how you bring things into reality, how you manifest it.
Yep.
And I was watching Jason Bashir's just the other night on Archaics. He's brilliant, that guy. And he also did a talk on manifestation, and other people as well that have done it over the years. And going right back into the 15th century, they were kind of doing this. So I don't know what your take on it is. I just thought I'd ask you. But if you've not heard of him, then you probably don't really know much about that. But one other thing I'm going to say, and please don't laugh at me. There's a guy on YouTube called the Fittest Flat Earther, right? I would encourage you to go and have a look at him. Do you know of him?
No, I don't think I know of that particular one.
It's not the flat earth as such. Just ignore the flat earth bit. He
Okay.
goes on about the fallen angels that are down on this realm that were cast out from the heaven, and they're here, and they've been here for a long, long, long time, and they keep regurgitating into different people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if you know this, but if I say this to you now, I know you're going to laugh, but Donald Trump was Elvis Presley. Now that sounds absurd and stupid, but if you listen to what he has to say and the marks that they carry on the face as they go from one manifestation to another, stay with them,
Mm-hmm.
and how people become different people, and they've done it for eternity. And he says
Yeah.
all the presidents that were here are still alive. Take it for what it is. You might think it's bollocks, but it was interesting stuff. And the guy does sound genuine. So have a look at it. There's no harm to look, is there?
You need
You
to,
know,
yeah, no, mate, I've covered all these things and I've delved right into going deep into those rabbit holes. That covers pretty much all of that. I've written it in my book and on my YouTube.
right.
And so to go in the manifestation transduction sequence has been well diagrammed and brought back on planet to explain the nature of our holographic time matrix and
Right.
where from the primal light and sound fields and the realms that exist above and beyond that, downstep and instep into these different domains where we're kind of like down in density one, in order for, the great eternal first field intelligence of God source, when it has a desire, it has a focal point, and then from there it starts to construct these bones of these matrices that then allow for individuation to happen for us to then be birthed into existence from the main source to go off and experience space, time, and matter in these kind of arenas that all have a similar structure, which is this 15-dimensional 5-density holographic time matrix. And so the manifestation transduction sequence works with these different layers of energy that starts with plasma, then it downsteps into the dark matter Raschet template, then it goes into the spirit Adonna illuminated essence template, then into a light crystal body, then down into our atomic body. And so the whole art of what has happened here in this holographic time matrix, there's an extensive history written about both in the occult and the New Age, but none more so than I think the MCEO AMCC teachings, which I reference a lot in my book and cross-examine with the old occult mystery school knowledge and the other New Age concepts that are out there to kind of synthesize and squeeze the truth from facts, as it were, in order for people to consider bringing the science back into spirituality, that a lot of the modern science and physics and metaphysics are proven today to be true. And so, yeah, manifestation happens. Everything, we're a byproduct of thoughts. We kind of live in a mind before matter universe. And so they can prove this with the quantum double split experiment. Everything's waveform before you have someone there to perceive or observe what is going on. When you have an observer, the waveform collapses into a particle. And so that is basically proof for anyone to show that we exist in a mind before matter universe. And so whenever there's an observer present, that's when things collapse into material reality. But there's stacks like Russian dolls of densities and different dimensions. And there's a energetic kind of structure behind it that's based on pure mathematics. Unfortunately, we exist with what's happened down here in Plato's cave, chasing shadows a little bit, which is a Metatronic finite light vampire wave kind of structure that has to feed and eat itself in order to perpetuate its own kind of, I wouldn't say immortality, but integrity. And that's kind of the shadow in Plato's cave. But we're still connected via thread to the avenue back up prior to the fall, where there's the eternal life math, which is all based on the crystal spiral rather than the Fibonacci spiral, which is actually part of the Metatronic antichristic distortion, the vampire waves, having to eat on the numbers that came before in order to add to it going forward. So it's all based on black hole mechanics. And so with the black hole in the center of our Milky Way galaxy. Our Milky Way galaxy is a quantum fallout from Andromeda. This is proven in science in regards to the two templates still connected through this magnetic reconnection resonance that science have picked up on. The Fermi four-fold bubbles that NASA has photographed with the Hubble telescope that are around our Milky Way is part of black hole infrastructure that encases and entrains in quantum physics and plasma physics and harnesses quantum in order to entrain them towards a particular timeline. And this goes into time vectors, probability domains, different timelines, that the whole stack of creation is structured from, like I said, that layered cake all the way from the top, all the way down and it's all based on 15s, 12s, and 5s, and 45-degree angles with the crystal spirals, and that doubles. Whereas the Fibonacci, Daisy of Death, Bloom of Doom, the Yin Yang, that's all based on the distorted fallen templates of what you label the fallen angels, right? Which is the sub-time distortion reality zones where these guys emanate from. And they get into our system on the other side of the black hole. That's Hades, the pit, refers to it in 9/11, Revelations 9/11, the angel with the bottomless pit, whose name in Greek is Apollyon and in Hebrew Abaddon. That's the black hole. Saturn is connected to the black hole via wormhole links, and so is the moon. That's why we live in a Saturn moon matrix. They say Satan is the prince of this world. Satan is Saturn. Listen to David Icke in his presentations, beautiful, on the moon and the Saturn moon matrix. He pretty much sums up everything that's in the MCO, MCC teachings, but at like a kindergarten level. If you want the PhD level, like on my website under spirituality tab and on my YouTube channel, Tales of a Self-Initiate, and in my book, I introduce all these concepts to kind of give you a much bigger picture and context as to what's happened, why we're here, what's going on in regards to evil expression, and why we're subject to all this that's going on, and ultimately what the solution is, right? Identify the problem and also appreciate the solution, and to consider it going forward as you raise your frequency in this journey. But yeah, mate, I love all this stuff. All this occult initiation and like spirituality is what got me into learning about the straw man, prior to which September, around August 2017, end of August 2017, beginning of September, I had a crown chakra or capstone chakra awakening just off the back of coming into the knowledge of the powers of our subconscious mind, law of attraction, quantum physics, and the mind before matter universe, and understanding that everything is just energy, frequency, vibration, oscillation, and base pulse rhythms, and angular rotation and particle spin. And when I went to bed that night, oh my God, everything that's just atoms vibrating at particular frequencies, giving off the illusion of matter. I had this like massive activation about a foot above my head. That was this mini sun. And then I was able to, it was cycling white energy into my body one way, and then pulling black tar energy out of my body the other way, purifying it for about a minute. Once that finished, I was able to move it with my mind's eye over my body, feeling the push-pull gravity of this orb. And then I slung it in the center of the ceiling in the middle of my room, about a foot below the ceiling. Then out the top of my crown chakra, all these planets start to pour out and spin with their own unique spins and orbit around that sun, that central sun. Then other suns started to form. I was starting to build galaxies, and then I was starting to build nebulas. And I built this whole universe, and I was filling up the whole room, right? And it's all pouring out my crown chakra in my mind's eye, like real lucid, vivid experience, no drugs, just off the back of this awareness of everything's energy. And then all of a sudden, I got this message: too much, too soon. And I kind of snapped out of the trance, got goosebumps, woke up, well, not woke up, but sat up, turned the lamp on beside me and got electric shock. And I was just like, whoa, like what the F was that, And so I kind of calmed myself for 5 minutes, went to sleep. Next day, jumped on the computer, funny orb-like energy above my head. And then bang, every result was like crown chakra awakening, crown chakra awakening, crown chakra awakening, crown chakra awakening. So that's when I really started to then dive deep into learning about the occult, chakras, the esoteric science, subtle body energy. I discovered the first 7 Bomar, and then the information of like purifying the temple, the importance of like these are instruments for the mind and our consciousness. So we must purify it and get rid of all the yuck and the ick and the shit they put in us, and what they're spraying and injecting and in the food. So purify that, even conscious of the EMF. So I went down that road. Then I found Santos Bonacci, listened and learned syncretism, so astrology, astrotheology, astrobiology, etymology, ontology, eschatology, and epistemology, which is basically part of the 7 neoliberal arts, which is grammar, rhetoric, logic, and then numbers, numerology, music. Numbers, geometry, music, and astrology. Numbers, numerology is numbers, geometry is numbers in space, music is numbers in time, astrology is numbers in space and time. And so off the back of that, over those 2 years, I got led into taking and experimenting with psilocybin mushrooms off the back of watching Paul Stamets, who's a mycologist, understanding that when working with this, you can unlock rapid neurogenesis in your brain, which I did. I probably increased my IQ by about 15 points and my memory over those 2 years of about 10 or 11 trips. Had some of my biggest initiations during that time as well in November. And then I came full circle back into Santos Bonacci again with his presentations on how the Vatican owns your soul, which I think I share under resources in my website. And that's when I first got introduced to the concept of the straw man, papal triregnums, papal edicts, and all this bullshit that they passed. And that's when I then realized, oh shit, this is part of my mission down here. I need to go down this road, which I've been on since 6 years now, since 2020. And obviously then discovered Mary Elizabeth Croft, Bibi Bacchus, Mark Sean Christopher, David Warren Miller, Bill Turner, Don Killam, PJP, Pat Devine, and just, yeah, obviously just attacked it, realized off the back of me going to university, having the economic knowledge, I could kind of conceptualize the monetary side of things a lot easier. I knew what was going on with the occult by that point, with the spiritual war that we're in. And so the only thing missing was this kind of legal concept. And I was like, that's kind of like the missing picture. So that kind of helped build the bigger picture for me. But it wasn't until I think end of 2021, beginning of 2022, when I came across Iyasha Ashiana, who has put forward the MCO AMCC teachings, which is basically a lot of the knowledge, if not all of the knowledge that was lost post Atlantis sinking, and what JC tried to reseed here back during that Christ period, but otherwise got edited out and suppressed and, hid away in 325 AD with the Council of Nicaea. And we're kind of left with just what they've given us through religion, which is really gear, right, to more about gubernatorials, the government, to control a boat or steer a boat in order to give us this kind of false savior martyrdom program under Jehovah, Yahweh, or Allah, which all go back to the same entity, which is the black hole, Abaddon, via Saturn and the moon. So we're in a bit of a reincarnation loop trap down here. And the things that have been done to this planet with the hidden Templar, which is the template pillar system, which goes into metaphysical, interdimensional Stargate connections that connect on the universal level as well as the solar level, the galactic level, and the planetary level, and even in our bodies, because everything's like a fractal version of itself. We have the same anatomy as a planet, as a star, as a galaxy, it's a whole universe. But just on a minor level, a lot of these things have been like taken out, like our DNA has been heavily manipulated. We should have, I think, at least, they talk about 12 substrand nucleotide base pair DNA that we should have activated. We've only got 4, which plugs into the Yod-Hey, Vard-Hey system of the black cube matrix. And so we're like really shut out from what we really are at a higher level. And that's the kind of whole art down here with the initiate, the adept, is to try and reawaken that dormant DNA. Everyone's innately psychic. Look at Russell Targ's research at Stanford Research Institute and his book ESP. And there's I think, documentary on Netflix called Third Eye Spy. It's 20 years working with the CIA to prove remote viewing, astral projection. And what he proved is everyone is actually innately psychic, and they just got to be trained a certain way to be able to project their consciousness in the future, the past, the present, and also remote view anywhere in the world, in this galaxy even, and retrieve information. And that's what they were doing against Russia. That was the means in which to try and get this program off and running. And so the science is proving, this concept of, yes, we are manifestors, we're co-creators, and we hold within our DNA template the film of which our higher soul self is the projector that then projects through the film of our DNA with everything that we have based on all simultaneous incarnations across all dimensions and densities, and all the decisions you have made, and the karmic history and imprints that you might carry in the miasms, as well as the technologies used against us to suppress our frequency, is then projected out into the hologram around us. It's a 3-dimensional field rather than just a 2D screen. So that projector is like a perfect analogy of who and what we are and what this holographic matrix is all about. And so we have the power, though, to rewrite our script. But down here, it's a lot slower, just given the carbon 666 based mutations that we've been put under, which is a lot more dense than it should be down here in density 1, harmonic universe 1. The 666 goes into the carbon atom, which is the 6th element, and it has 6 neutrons, 6 protons, 6 electrons. And that's why it all goes into, when you're born here, you die. And when you die, you're actually born again. Because it's this concept that as soon as we're kind of nailed to the cross of this 666 carbon-based body, 98% of our high consciousness is shut out. We're only left with this small little flame, and we're blank slated. We have no memory. And this is part of the Saturn moon matrix. The moon is part of this technology. That's not a organic satellite. It's an artificial satellite, and you don't even need to be a conspiracy theorist to believe that. You just got to look at the science of how it's placed, how it's positioned in relation to our Earth and the sun, and how it slowly rotates to face our Earth constantly. And that could never have been derived from the kind of double whack theories that they propose in physics and astrophysics. And I mean, I've seen with my own eyes what that thing is, and I've had experiences with seeing, into the veil, as it were, or beyond the veil, beyond this finite life spectrum of what we're being calibrated to. So, yeah, Billy, mate, I'm
Right.
up
Oh,
and
you've
out there,
got.
bro. I'm well
Yeah,
into
you've gone for
down
it.
all these
Yeah.
rabbit holes, mate. I'm down. I've been,
Well,
yeah,
one thing I
I've
will
dived down.
say, for you to look at, I don't know if you've ever heard of the guy, and I can't get his name right now, but in 1965, a guy in Australia, they did an interview with him where he said that the moon was plasma. You might have seen it. It's only a 9-minute black and white video. I can't remember the name of the guy. There's no information on him.
I've
Whatever
seen that
happened to
too.
him?
Yeah, I've seen that
Yeah,
too.
but where did he go? Who was he?
There's yeah, every like we all connected at all these levels. So like I said, going back to the plasma is the kind of inorganic substance that is the closest thing to the eta or vapor of pure consciousness of God source first eternal that encompasses everything, right? Everything exists within it. We're not separate of it. From there, you have the different structures that come down. So you being here in the carbon-based 666 biology implies that you also have stations of your consciousness at those various levels. None more so than density 2, which is harmonic universe 2, which is where dimensions 4, 5, and 6 is, which is where people say like dimension 5 is got to get to 3D to 5D and all this kind of stuff. But that's where the silica-based DNA is, the half silica, half carbon-based DNA. Density 3 is pure silica-based DNA. That's like almost liquid light kind of form that we will perceive it as here. But when you merge with the frequency bandwidth of the energy field there and the laws of physics in that domain, you will sync up and things will be physical like it is here. However, it'll be a lot more amenable to our consciousness. And that's where magic resides. That's where, like, a lot more of what we portray in science fiction and the fairy tales do reside. We can't see them, but they can see us. Wherever your mental consciousness is stationed, you see below one dimension as solid. And so our dimensional conscious awareness is stationed at dimension 4, and we see what's below it as this density 1 reality field. And the emotional body is linked into dimension 2, and then the monadic body into dimension 1. So the whole science of the energetics and the different layers of creation has been documented in diagrams and detail that I've kind of gone through and studied over the years and put in my book to help, share with people to consider in order to, again, kind of leave Plato's cave to stop chasing shadows. But so the moon, the planet, so even Earth, right, has these various levels of its identity too across the stack of creation. Density 2, I think, is Pleiades, Alcylone. You can see that the Earth, our system, and our sun is connected quite intimately with Pleiades in the Alcylone system. Above that, you then have the North Star, which is meant to be Gaia in density 3. And then density 4, you've got part of the Lyra Aramitana system. And that's the 3, 5, 8, 12 connection. That then above the 12, you go into the 13, 14, 15th, which are the primal light and sound fields, which then link up to the lower density of the God worlds. And then it keeps going up the stairway to heaven, the staircase to heaven. Yeah, I kind of introduce all these concepts in my book. So yeah, the moon can also, on a high level, have a plasma body, but then it'll also have a dark matter template body, as well as a spirit Adona body, a light crystal body, and then what we see now with what our senses are calibrated to is just the atomic physical body, the atom-based body. But there exists the multiple stack structures of its correspondence across dimensions and densities. I've seen the moon when I was in Bali on an entheogen experience, again, using this purely scientific to, again, probe into, seeing beyond the veil. By that point, I had quite a few experiences, so I was well versed in it, and it enhances your senses. That's what happens. It dilates your pupils so you can see more of the light spectrum. That's the way it's hidden to us. And so I remember sitting in the villa, taking the mushrooms, it kicked in. I saw a rainbow bridge connect to my chest from the moon. I followed it with my eyes because it plugged right into my heart chakra. After seeing that, I saw the moon as part of a giant cube that the moon is like a soccer ball was put within this box, this cube that looked like the Borg super ships. To me, it looked like a quantum computer. That was an alien superstructure that encased the moon. After I saw that, there's two great big entities that appeared from waist high above the moon, looking down at me as if I was in some kind of petri dish. They were wearing ancient samurai attire. So they had the huge, great big horns and those kind of Japanese samurai masks, right? Looked quite demonic.
Yeah.
And they were just looking down at me. All the while, the Rainbow Bridge was connected to my chest. And so then, obviously, after that trip, I come back, do my research, and I connect it in with that Anunnaki, Enki, and Enlil. There's an image online from ancient Sumer of them dressed in ancient samurai attire, exactly how I saw, looking down at me from the moon. The moon is a base, it's many things. It also controls the gestation cycle of women here on the planet, which controls the coming and going of souls in the womb, from the womb to the tomb, with the reincarnation loop. It's been placed there to speed up gestation, whereas in normal eternal life Christic systems, it should happen once every 3 years. And so there's so much manipulation that it's just beyond belief sometimes. But the most important thing is the solution's here, and the earth is shifting into a beautiful place. There's going to be a separation, as we kind of already seen. It's kind of those seeds have been sown, right? And as we go forward in time, it's just going to be even more obvious with this divergence happening with the populations, with those coming back into the truth, the rising consciousness, and re-evolutionary rise reconnection, and those going down to black hole 4, which is the path of transhumanism, merging consciousness with machine. Because down there, in those domains beyond a black hole, you can't have this kind of biology, and the biology that's in the higher vibration of like liquid light that's on the side of the crystal. You have to merge your consciousness with the machine, AI, and that's where all that spawned from. All this black hole technology had come from DARPA, which Berners-Lee was a cover for, which was all kind of channeled through the portals at CERN, which I think it was around just by CERN, one of the cities there. I think he came up with the World Wide Web, and in Hebrew, www is 666.
Really?
Yeah. With the letters, the www.666. Yeah, so all this technology is coming in up from the black holes, but black holes are no, but there's going to be people that choose to go down that way, because these whole holograms are set up where there's woven into the very fabric of the mathematics laws of cause and effect. You reap what you sow. And so if certain race groups want to fight against others and they use high energy weapons, and all of a sudden they rip a fabric in the space-time integrity of a holographic time age, create a black hole, which on the other side of it is like a twisted version of the original holographic template, you're going to have distortions in consciousness, and a system that relies on having to feed on other living systems to survive and maintain their immortality, artificial immortality. And that's been the whole modus operandi since that happened, since that original fall happened. And so it's purely mathematical, scientific, all based on energy. Nothing exists outside of God source, but God source allows these arenas to be set up, because ultimately we're all part of God source, but just individuated in order to experience itself through one another in space, time, and matter, that we reap what we sow. And we all come in and agree, knowing the rules of the game, that if this happens, you're going to have to reap the consequences of your actions. And these guys know that, and their consequence is going back as space dust. So everything returns back, but it's just one way is remembering, the other way you just go back as indifferentiated units of particuli, which are the smallest units upon which the scalar wave fields of God source is structured, which is taught in the Keylontic science aspect of the Kathara teachings within the MCO AMCC teachings. And someone shared in the chat, psychology, that's kind of similar. That's kind of based off of the MCO AMCC teachings, the 5 density universes. So all that's available for guys to like tap into, which I highly recommend, that I've done myself. But that's why I wrote my book, and it's kind of based on that, as well as blended in my own first-hand experiences, and then cross-examine it with the occult and the other new age, and obviously religion, and what's going on with that. Ultimately on here, blended with the kind of control structures, given the economics and the legal setup with the tricks and traps of the straw man, which it all goes back and connects into the occult. It's not separate. And that's kind of, again, what initiated me into then finding about the straw man was 2 years prior, I was studying all this occult stuff. And that's when I realized, oh, the strawman, yeah, that's an end product of one of the major weapons they're using here to, keep us under the cosh. And in that kind of fear state paradigm, which again is just energetics, they feed off that loosh, but we got the solutions. That's the beautiful thing. For every problem, it means that there is a solution. It's kind of like how the universe is set up with the laws of energy. There's always going to be an opposite expression. So if there's a problem, that means there is a solution. If there's a question, that means there is an answer.
Or remedy.
Yeah, exactly. And we're walking it. All you guys here are doing a tremendous job to help, provide the remedy. And that's it. And there's some very powerful souls that come down here at this time to hold space and ground in regards to the Templar, to run and anchor energy into the grids of the earth, to assist portions of earth that will be shifting out of this lock that it's been put in. Parts of it will be going down. That's the whole Project 2025, Trump, Elon Musk, Occupy Mars movement, setting up World War III. They're willing to, the entities in control of this planet on the side of the black hole fall guys want to scorch the earth and then fuck off down to wherever they came from. What this whole galaxy is part of it. It's kind of a semi-fallen system we're in. But there's a way out. The lucky thing is there's a way out. And Earth is like pretty much the only place within this galaxy that's still got a connection within the Stargate Templar system back to Andromeda, from which we fell. Andromeda then is connected to M33, which is the Aqueous matrix. And then from there, you have a gateway back into the internal domains. So you get out the whole entire external universe. And that's taught in the Templar. And that's the hidden science. And the guys who are of the Christ, who probably preserve this knowledge since the Christ period, know about this. And this is what they would have always kept locked away, but it's been released since 2000 when Ashiana incarnated here with her contract to help receive this knowledge. So it's fascinating stuff. But all of that's true with, the recycling of soul signatures looking very similar when they come in as well. And the cloning, they do cloning as well, super soldiers.
Yeah. Hear about the bright light as well, don't they? When they die, the people go to the bright light, and they reckon that it's a fake. And when they're there, they then the memory is blanked, and then you reincarnate to go back down again and go around the loop again.
That's part of it. Yeah. And that's part of the moon, what the moon does. So the moon also deflects astral light away from your pineal gland, which is why it's atrophied so much. Another ancient symbol for the moon was the unicorn. If you look on the United Kingdom emblem, you have the unicorn in chains. And the unicorn with the horn coming through the forehead symbolizes the third eye, the pineal gland. Right. And so that's otherwise symbolizing what the moon is doing to deflecting astral light away from our pineal gland, which is why it's very atrophied, calcified. So it's not being used. You imagine living in a cave with your eyesight, your eyeballs used to seeing light over so many years, you just don't need it. There's no light being received in your eyes and your retina. That part of your brain's going to shut down. Your eyes going to start shutting down. It's the same thing with the pineal gland. That's the moon is part of that problem. So that's why the moon's light is colder than the shadow it casts. So all these numbers, the moon is 2,160 miles across. A cube, if you add up the degrees, is 2,160 degrees. That plugs into the sextant clock, which is every 2,160 years, the precessional equinox, which is part of this Dyson sphere that surrounds the planet, bestowing conditions on consciousness through the astrological ecliptic, which was made up, that's declared in the Hermetica, when Thoth is speaking to Anu, that will create a device to enslave humanity from cradle to grave and bestow him with vices, etc., etc. So everything down here, mate, is control. It's all about controlling consciousness, controlling the gates. Control the gates, you control the consciousness, and then you can stipulate the conditions. They've tinkered with the genetics. The DNA is the coding of biological life and consciousness perception, because we're instruments. This is an instrument for consciousness to project itself through and have an experience within a particular reality domain. And so the whole art of what we need to do here is to raise our frequency, activate those dormant parts of ourselves, rise above all these kind of invisible chains and tricks and traps, and shift our energy. And that can only happen through what? Knowledge. Knowledge is power in that regard, right? So So
I was just I was just wondering there if Neil Armstrong bumped into them Japanese samurai warriors when he was up there.
Okay.
Or not.
Oh, what's that? Sorry. Sorry, I missed that. I was reading another comment. What's that?
All right. I was just wondering if Neil Armstrong had bumped into them Japanese samurai warriors when he was on his walkabout.
Well, here's another mad one with there's a movie called Iron Sky, The Coming Race, and the secret space program, super soldier community folks all talk about the breakaway civilization with the Nazis and saying that the Nazis are on the moon and they went on the dark side of the moon, and that's when they
Yeah, I've heard all
encountered
this.
Draconians, and that there is this breakaway civilization, and they established a base on Antarctica. This is when they, with the Thor Society, they were channeling the anti-gravity Diglocker aircraft and craft to go, basically up to the moon, out into space. And so everything that was happening around World War II, World War One was based on this, and that there was this breakaway civilization. They met some of these extraterrestrials, made agreements, and they formed like the Narkwaffen fleet with these Draconians who were on the kind of, dark side of the moon, using it as like a lunar command base of operations, which is kind of enshrouding again with the Van Allen belt us into this kind of time lock, perceptual lock. And if we can activate our higher senses, our skies would be like an ET parking lot with everything going on. And so it's just mad, mate. Yeah, there's so much I think that's happened that's obviously been kept under wraps. The governments are here to control perception and information and knowledge, and they're running a plausible deniability program that we've obviously encountered many times with this, trying to reveal what we want to reveal with the fraud that's going on and the straw man estate. And so they perfected the art of population control, and that's basically what they've been in since Babylonian times, and especially I think it's around 3750 BC with the Babylon massacre. That's when things really got hard for humanity down here, because that's when they scrambled the grids, which was like a magnetic wave that kind of wiped the disk on a floppy disk in computing that our DNAs are receptive to. That instantly we had instant Alzheimer's, and we just forgot ourselves, and we became like cavemen and women. And that was the Tower of Babel incident, the Babylon massacre it's called. And so the things they've done with the technologies here on planet that involves like what people would consider sci-fi, but it's not so sci-fi, that is actually real, that's happened to us, has subjected to us being kind of erased, wiped, and kind of where we are today, having to start from the ground up, from being birthed into the system, blank slated, and having to work it all out. But it's happened more rapidly. And this technology, even though it's kind of spawned from the Black Mirror, black hole side of things, is also saving grace, because it's also a great instrument and tool to help spread the awakening and the empowering knowledge and solutions that we're all seeking. So it's a wild ride. But then we're in like the most significant times. It's crazy. Book of Revelation, like we're in it. It's finished. The Bible should be probated. The New Testament, we should have a new testament to define the age of Aquarius, which Bill Turner actually mentioned should be 777 books. Reason being, the Great Sign in Heaven happened in 23rd of September 2017, and that was an astrological alignment that you can look up. But there's plenty of information online to prove this allegory with the woman clothed with the sun, moon at her feet, crown of 12 stars above her head, about to give birth, signifying the start of the 7 years. And so fast forward September 2024, that's the end. We're now in the period of transition between ages where we should be moving into the age of Aquarius, which we are. First 1,000 years of which is ruled by Uranus, which in Greek means heaven, which in the Bible refers to Satan being cast down for 1,000 years. Why? Saturn governs Aquarius, but the latter 1,000 years. And then I study MCO, MCC teachings and find they also mention this 1,000 years of peace linked into a similar cycle, but explained with much more depth on a more Christic and interdimensional metaphysical dynamical level. And so the times we're in now are so significant. In 2012, when Pope Benedict, was it Pope Benedict left, or I think it was Benedict, one of them, he handed in his notice, right? Because that was the demarcation of exiting the age of Pisces and entering the age of Aquarius. And then once Pope Francis was elected on February 13th, they stopped wearing the mitre hats, which is symbolic of a fish, and just wore the round caps. That was the first symbol to tell us that we've exited the age of Pisces, entered the age of Aquarius. When Pope Benedict announced his resignation, that night, St. Peter's Basilica got struck by lightning. Who rules Pisces? Jupiter. Who's Jupiter? Jupiter Zeus, Jesus. He's Thor in the Norse myths. He's the Lord of Thunder. Now it was almost like, again, symbolic of this handover that's happening. We're in the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is a bit precarious because it's also the Uranus and Saturn. Saturn is Satan, as we know, and it's all about fixed air element, which is all about dominating the airwaves. So since then, we've seen the last 100 years us dominate the airwaves with
Hey,
airplane
hey, girl.
flight, you know, and
Yeah.
all this communications, wireless communications. When you're live, you're said to be on air. Everything's being transmitted in the airways. The airways governs the mental plane, which is why Rudolf Steiner and all these guys knew the forthcoming predictions of the kind of energies that are coming on planet based on astrology and these natural cycles, and saying that the vaccines are coming and they're trying to merge man with machine. They're going to mix iron with clay, as the Bible states. Clay with iron. That's just transhumanism. But back then they had to use agricultural terms to kind of relay the message. That's been all the same as we develop. But now that we're in the technology age, we're using computing allegories in stuff like this. But that's why all these guys, Manly P. Hall, Rudolf Steiner, they could see it coming. George Orwell was part of the Fabian Society, right? And with what was the other book? So 1984. The reason why he labeled it 1984 was because the Fabian Society was set up in 1784. So it was a 100th year anniversary. And so he got invited in to the Fabian Society, was shown the plan, what they wanted to do to humanity, which was, again, in that future timeline, because it's already happened, time is simultaneous, that he resisted and wrote this book as like a warning to help warn everyone else. This is what's coming if we don't resist and we consent and go along to get along.
Was it Huxley?
Huxley was the other one. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
A Brave New World.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that
those
was right in the 20s, I think.
Yeah, both part of the Fabian Society. Tony Blair's Fabian Society. A lot of these guys, especially on the left, Labour, Democrats, they're all Fabian Society lackeys. And their symbols, the wolf in sheep clothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's, you know, so yeah, anyway, they've tried to lock it in. 2020 was the key one. They've been trying to lock it in. 2001 all connects into this. 9/11, that's why Revelation 9/11 connects into a battle Napoleon. You see now the black hued symbolism with the two towers being destroyed, which all goes into Freemasonry, which is the Jackal and Bacchus, whatever, with, you know, the twins and the checkerboard matrix that they got running here with the black and white squares. And that all connects into the 64-bit checkerboard matrix that connects Stonehenge actually into the moon and Nibiru. Mate, honestly, there's so much, it's ridiculous. But the most important thing is to focus on raising our vibration and energy, and that can only come through knowledge and dispelling the fear. That we ultimately have nothing to fear, even though we are in challenging times, very salient times. There's so much protection here and like guidance for those who are willing to be guided and open their mind to receiving the solution and the truth and to help walk that path. It's like the best example of that is probably what is it, by John Bunyan, The Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah,
that's a brilliant book, and there's a little cartoon animated movie based on the book that's just depicts this journey so well, that everyone is on, with all the tricks and traps and the kind of qualities you need in order to get to where we need to get to, which ultimately is safely out of here when the time comes to leave your body, if you can't transfigure your body. Which I think the last guy to do that was JC. He raised the Eridanus spirit body, and he was able to transfigure himself and walk through a stargate to get up to where he needed to go, which I think was future Earth in 6520 AD, where the CAIC is, or whatever they label it as, CIAC.
Wow.
Center for Advanced Interdimensional Communications, which where a lot of the kind of base for the Christic side are based to help assist Earth in that trajectory of the timeline. There's obviously the other guys working to help pull as much quanta as they can into the probability vector and timeline of the fall, which is the transhumanist Orwell agenda that Orwell warned us about. So there's two paths now. And they talk about it, the wheat from the chaff, separating the wheat from the chaff.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah, we're in it. We're in it. It's all
All
about
right. All right. I'm going to leave you with this one, and you're going to laugh. But if you really want to just brighten your weekend up, go on YouTube and just look up the Terrahawks, Jerry and Sylvia Anderson, about the moon. It's like a puppet thing, but you will die laughing.
Okay.
If you're on a bit of a downer, just watch that. You'll wet your pants. I'm telling you, it's that good. Yeah. So there you go.
Beautiful.
So
okay.
Yeah, we better let you get to bed, mate. So what time is it there?
Is there any other questions for anyone else? Quickly before I leave, everyone's happy. If not, you got the Telegram channel. It's 10:30 here, 10:30 p.m.
Right. I'm just going to say save the chat, people, because we can. I've just saved it. 3 dots, top of the page on the chat. Hit that. You can save the chat.
Yeah,
So,
good idea. And I've
worthwhile
recorded
doing.
this, so I'll post this on YouTube, and
Yeah.
also my original one that I did like 3 or 4 months ago. I'll post that as well on my YouTube, and then I'll share the link with you guys in Telegram.
Okay.
Also, all right, folks.
Excellent.
Thanks for tuning in. It's been a beautiful conversation, very enlightening.
Brilliant.
And yeah, just
I've learned a lot.
The underlying message again that Michael reiterated is just stay positive, guys. Like the answers are here. Probably the only gap from, if you have a little bit of doubt now, it's just a bit of knowledge. So, go back, study, work hard.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. We've got a great community here, Telegram to tap into. You can, send private messages to me as well if you really need the help. But, the answers are there, guys. Just got to put in a little bit of effort and it will pay off big time, like hugely. Just keep going. Stay encouraged, stay enthused despite whatever's going on around you with the news, the media, and this agenda. Just tune out of it, man. We've got the capability to raise our frequencies and tune into that goodness, the pureness, the joy, the truth, the knowledge, the empowerment, and know that, we're all in this together. You're not alone. And you're only just one message away from some help or one question away from finding an answer. So all the best, guys.
All right. I will say,
Jan?
I will just say this. If you try to impress me, it's working.
Just one question.
Cheers,
Do we
Billy.
need to have a flag?
Emblem, crest, or flag, whatever you decide, whatever you resonate with. But yeah, important to have like a seal. I mean, your personal seal is your
Personal seal and everything, okay. But about the flag, is it mandatory or not?
Flag or emblem or crest, either one. Most flags you see they have symbols on it as well, so you can have it within a flag or just have it as an emblem or a crest. So it's up to you.
I will just say regarding flags, the one thing that absolutely cracks me up, you see all these people protesting. We've got all the immigrants here at the moment, so they're all there. George's flag, the Red Cross, or the Union Jack. So they're saying on one hand, we don't want all this, but what are they doing? They're waving corporate flags.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by one way they're saying we don't want it, and then waving the flag is to say like we're right behind you.
Yeah.
There's only 2 flags you should ever raise, either your own or a white flag. White flag is dialogue. Dialogue is parley. Is that right?
Yeah.
That is, you wish to speak. You wish to have dialogue.
Exactly.
But they don't. They just wave the corporate flags.
Exactly.
You can't. You know what they say, don't you? There is a saying, and I will say it to you. You can talk to somebody with a wooden leg, but you can't talk to somebody with a wooden head. You just can't get through to them.
Exactly. Jan, basically, obviously, knowing the maritime amity landscape that we're in order to appease the laws of communications, you must fly your flag and state your intent. And that's why with our setting up our own court of seal and our own sovereign estate, on our own hand and seal, we must kind of have an emblem that kind of encapsulates what we stand for and what our intent is, which comes from everything that we do, none more so with the whole process setting up the estate, but also all the claimants we make as well. So we then are seen as a vessel that has a flag, has a nation backing it in regards to our knowledge in our minerals and substance and weight on the earth. And from there, you kind of then stipulate your terms and conditions. What kind of vessel are you on this plane will dictate how you're treated then by the system and others around you. So again, that kind of taps into the law of energy and resonance and manifestation too. So flag, bro, emblem, crest within the flag. You can have it just as a flag, whatever you feel you resonate with. Go for.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Brilliant.
All right, guys, that's it. All the best. Speak soon. I'll probably be on another 3 months, 4 months before the year's out. Tune in and get connected and have another Q&A.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks, guys. Ciao.
Ciao. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Cheers,
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Been brilliant. Cheers.
Wow. Well, that's good, Annie.
I'll just give more people to, if they want to download the chat, just quickly copy and paste, but others probably have done it and they can share it in Telegram.
Yeah, right. Good stuff. I'm off. All right. Have a good one.
See you later. See you guys.